Davey, good to see you. How you doing? Yes, sir. How you been? T, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Pablo, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Pure, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Evening. Hello, Miles. How you today? I'm doing great, Anna. How you doing, Anna? How you been? Kamal, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? How you been? Funky brother, good to see you as well. How you doing? Good evening, pro-Trump, Miles, and the rest of the CMF family. Let's go, Funky brother. Dennis, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Lena, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Greetings, brother. How you doing, Ruth? Stormy, hi, Miles of CMF. Good to see you as well, Stormy. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, brother. Good to see you as well, Paul. How you doing? How you been? Ruth, hi, Miles. How you doing? Good, thanks. Great news. Trump, yes, great, amazing news, Trump. Genuinely amazing news. That is Trump. The best thing that could have possibly happened inside crypto space happened with essentially with a Trump presidency. I mean, we are on the way to Gary Gensler getting fired, rules and regulations. I mean, what more do we want? Carl, good. T, good to see you as well. How you doing? Good, thanks, Miles. Let's go. Hi, Miles and CMF. It is time to turn on my CMF TV for Trump news. Good to see you guys. Carl, how you doing? Good to see you as well. Hi, Miles and CMF. George, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Orphan, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Miles and family, good evening. How you doing? Carlos, I'm doing great. How you doing? How you been? Morning, Miles and CMF. Shelly, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Morning. Congratulations, Miles. Let's go, Funky brother. And congratulations, CMF. Let's go, Funky brother. We had a time last night. We had a great time last night. Yes, we did. Yeah, yesterday, we did the longest possible live show we've ever done, which was 8 hours and a half. The live show was. So for everyone, honestly, that tuned in for yesterday's live, thank you so much to everyone that tuned in for yesterday's live. We did an 8 hour and a half live yesterday. Just this, essentially see who is going to be the next president of the United States. And it was great. The results were absolutely amazing. Did not disappoint. Staying up. Good evening, all. JP, good to see you as well. How you doing? So, yep, Stormy, facts. Great live yesterday. Evening, Miles of CMF. Manny, good to see you as well. How you doing? Good evening, Miles of CMF. I'm still celebrating Trump's won. Let's go, Cali. Trump won. Make America great again. Let's go, facts. Hi, Miles and Gary. Gary being shown the door yet? Gary's going to be shown the door essentially around 20th of January. Gary Gensler is going to be fired. Trump did say he's going to fire him within 24 hours. So January 20th, essentially by the 22nd, he should be out the door. Hi, Miles. Let's go, Peter. What's up, CMF? What's up, Miles? Kerry, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? I was till the end, but fell asleep last hour. Come on, let's go. But genuinely, thank you so much to everyone that was tuning in yesterday's live. It was absolutely amazing. It was a great time for everyone. Great time for me as well. It was a fun night. Yes, definitely. BTC hit its all-time high and still climbing. Yep, the crypto market is still positive. I mean, the stock market is absolutely positive. The crypto market is positive. The dollar was strengthened. Gold was good in value. Everything, the entire market space, every single market space was booming and still is. It genuinely still is. Now, let's go through a gist of what we're going to go through on tonight's live. So if you're watching this for the first time ever, this is the CMF Live. Welcome. Now, we're going to go through these news topics on tonight's live. We're going to be talking about Trump. Most definitely, we're going to be talking about Trump because he's the next president of the United States. Absolutely great news, amazing news, incredible news regarding Trump. So we're going to go through some Trump news on tonight's live, on the possibilities of the market space. We're going to go through some predictions. We're going to go through some analyst reviews and some reports from essentially major analysts or even essentially Bernstein analysts and so on. We're going to be talking about tonight's live regarding Tether as well. Tether is doing some strange movements right now. We can go through that. We're also going to go through some essentially more analyst reports on Trump. There's quite a lot of analyst reports to go to. A lot of executive CEOs, board members, analysts from Bernstein, Goldman Sachs, Standard Chartered, they're all talking about Trump right now. Everyone's giving out their own predictions of how they think the market space is going to play out. The predictions are very similar together. It's all positive. We're going to go through what the laws are possibly going to be passed inside the crypto space, in general, inside the market space. We're going to talk about Trump 2.0 on tonight's live as well regarding AI. It's not just crypto that's going to be benefiting. AI is going to be benefiting as well. Everything is going to be benefiting, to be fairly honest. We're also going to go through news topics on JP Morgan, also on tonight's live as well. JP Morgan is rebranding its blockchain firm. So we're going to go through that on tonight's live as well. We're going to talk about capital ventures. VC companies are now getting boosted. VC companies are heading towards the crypto space head first, which is absolutely amazing. It shows the confidence that Trump is bringing to the table, where venture capitalists are going, now we want to invest in crypto companies, which is great also for my company. Then we're also going to be talking about crypto.com on tonight's live as well. Crypto.com has decided to reveal its 2025 plans. And most likely, the only reason they revealed these types of plans is because it's a Trump presidency now, which is absolutely amazing. We're also going to talk about tonight's live regarding BlackRock's records. The report has came out of how much money has been spinning in Bitcoin ETFs right now. We're going to go through that as well. We're also going to talk about tonight's live regarding essentially massive reports on the market space in general, how the world is reacting, how every single market space in the world is reacting. We're going to go through bullet points. We're going to go through the crypto market, the stock market, the gold market, the dollar reserves, everything we're going to cover on tonight's live, because all that's going to be adding to essentially a balanced market space. We're going to be talking about South Korea's market space on tonight's live as well, because South Korea is about to be introducing something revolutionary involving cryptocurrencies, and they decided to reveal this plan on the day it was announced Donald Trump is the next president of the United States. South Korea decided to essentially release their new plans of how they see the crypto space moving forward. It's all positive. And it's crypto connecting to institutions, which is the most revolutionary part for them. And what they're introducing is also revolutionary for the entire world, because they can copy their plans. So we're going to go through that on tonight's live as well. We're also going to be talking about on tonight's live regarding BNB. BNB essentially decided to release their plans as well for the revolutionary of tokenization. They created something that's never been created before to make life easier for tokenization, for institutions to tokenize their products. So we're going to go through that on tonight's live as well. We're going to talk about Bernstein's analysts. They came out with predictions of how they see the market space playing out. We're going to talk about essentially the EU and why the EU is maybe in not doing too well compared to other market spaces. We're going to go through that on tonight's live. We're also going to talk about on tonight's live regarding the matters of Ripple. Towards the end of the live, we're going to talk about Ripple as well, and how this is the biggest bullish sign we could have ever got. I mean, if you're inside the crypto space, this is amazingly bullish. You know, if you're inside the crypto space, it's amazingly bullish that Donald Trump is the president of the United States. But it's even more bullish if you're inside the XRP space, because if you're inside the XRP community, you have struggled for years, mainly because of someone by the name of Gary Gensler. And that man is about to be fired, which means XRP is finally going to get the regulatory it needs, the regulatory clarity it finally needs, which also means that XRP is finally going to get its ETFs with a new chairman of the SEC happening after 20th of January onwards. So this is incredible. Absolutely incredible. We couldn't have asked for something much more better than this. Best news possible. Now, welcome to the CMF Live. If you're watching this for the first time ever, this is episode 198. We are on episode 198 of the CMF Live. Incredible. If you watch this for the first time ever, my name is Miles. I'm the host, as I am every single night. This is the CMF Live, stands for Crypto Miles Family. Every night you can tune in where I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, vital information for you to know about regarding the world completely transforming into a digital era. And also on this live, we do Q&As as well, which means if you do have any questions, put them down to the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. And the disclaimer of this live, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and what advice is only for entertainment purposes. So if you watch this for the first time ever, welcome to the CMF Live. And if you're a regular, let's go CMF. Once again, thank you so much to everyone that tuned in for yesterday's live. 8 hours and a half we did a live yesterday. Incredible. And I want to say thank you so much to everyone that's retweeting this live right now. I'm getting notifications on X. If you watch us on X, thank you so much for everyone that's retweeting this live, who's liking this live, who's putting a comment outside of the live on the video on X. And thanks so much to everyone on YouTube who's watching us right now, who's also liking the live as well. Thank you so much to everyone. Now, let's go to the comment section before we go for the first news on tonight's live. A lot of news to cover, a lot of positive Trump news, crypto news to cover. Before we go for any of that, let's go to the comment section first. Let's see what's going on here. Tesla is smashing it. Everything is smashing it, to be very honest. Trump mega coin. Let's go, Roof. Great day, Miles and family. Mike, let's go. How you doing, brother? Hi, Miles and family. Troy, let's go. How you doing? Ray, great day. Miles and CMF, absolutely incredible day. Hi, Miles. Will Boron start soon or time for alts? Time's left. It's pretty much started. All the way up. Nothing can stop me. Let's go, Mike. Good. God did not let us down. Facts. Absolutely facts. Troy, good to see you. How you doing? Glenda, hello, Miles and CMF. Good to see you. How you doing, Glenda? What's your thoughts on CBDCs now with Trump? CBDCs will still happen no matter who's in charge. But at least things will be moving faster now, is what matters. So CBDCs will still happen. The World Economic Forum, Bank of International Settlements, the International Monetary Fund are still going to push forward with CBDCs. Every country is in CBDCs. 98% of the centralized banks are in CBDCs. Even the United States is in CBDCs. So that's still going to move forward no matter what. But in terms of regulations and policies, that was moving a bit sluggish. It's now going to be moving incredibly fast. Because Trump is, essentially someone that says something and does it, which is extremely rare in politics. In politics, 99.9% of politicians will say they will do something when they get elected and they will do nothing. Trump, he's the man that says, I will do this, and he will do it. So we know for a fact we're going to get those crypto policies and regulations. We know for a fact Gary Gensler is going to get fired. And we know for a fact that XRP is going to get the regulatory clarity finally deserves. And it's going to get its ETFs from 21 shares, Bitwise and Canary ETFs for XRP as well. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. XRP news, yes, towards the end of the live, we're going to go through the Ripple news. Morning, Miles of CMF. Solomon, good to see you. How you doing? All faxes, let's go. Absolutely facts was what essentially Stormy said. Can't wait for open cases on the deep state, thanks to Kennedy and Elon Musk. Best Christmas gift for XRP holders. Yes, facts, absolutely. Now we are going to find out if Ripple was sitting at the same table with Gary Gensler or not, because if Gary is fired, price should start moving because Ripple were blaming Gary Gensler so far. That's true. We're going to find out which way it lays. Is it a big show or is it just being stifled? Which has also two outcomes that are on the table. Good evening, Miles and Scott. Good to see you. How you're doing. Evening, Miles and CMF. How long do you think this pump will last? Quite a bit. As long as the positive momentum still continues, quite a bit. But if there are too many long positions opening on the market space, then exchanges might try to essentially bring the market down. But for the time being, we're positive. The market's moving very balanced with itself, still reacting in a positive way. Venture capitalists are coming towards the crypto space once again at a rapid pace, which is incredible. It shows that institutions are once again even more interested inside the crypto space because of Trump. Sam, thank you so much for a £20 donation. Absolutely amazing. It's going straight towards the CMF hedge funds to start it up. Incredible. Thanks so much for a £20 donation. Even in Miles and CMF, how long? Yeah, that's right. But Sam, thank you so much for a £20 donation. When will utility start for XRP? Well, this essentially lawsuit needs to get dismissed or dropped, which it will do when Gary Gensler is fired and a new chairman as the SEC is chosen. After that, regulations, the second green light. XRP has always needed 3 green lights. I've said it since day one. The first green light it needed was the case, which is going to get now because Gary Gensler is going to get fired. And essentially past January 20th is when Gary Gensler should be fired. So it's going to get its first green light, Gary Gensler being fired. The second green light for XRP has always been regulations, but now with Trump in power and the House majority seat is Republicans, which means it's easier to pass regulations. We're going to get the regulations also. That's going to be second green light. The third green light is pretty much adoption, which is going to be right after it. Hello, CMF family. I hope that everyone had a good day. Scott, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles. Great day for the crypto family. Facts. Absolutely facts, William. Miles, what's your price predictions end of 2024 and end of quarter 2025? I will still say consider variable change. Did you read the statements from Bitcoin's guru Dixon Mays about the next week's expectations? I didn't read his predictions for next week, but I've seen for his expectations. I've seen a lot of people come out with predictions, to be fairly honest, expectations and predictions and so on. Not just analysts, but I've also seen essentially reports from Bernstein and reports from Standard Chartered Bank. I've seen Goldman Sachs analysts also giving out some predictions. A lot of predictions are going around right now of how the market should be played out. When we expect adoption? After regulations or within regulations. Now, let's go through the first news on tonight's live. Absolutely incredible day. So, crypto community watches closely as Trump prepares to implement pro-crypto policies, potentially impacting regulatory frameworks. Donald Trump's re-election as president of the United States, the cryptocurrency market, particularly Bitcoin, experienced a significant surge. Yes, they definitely did. The win, which had broad implications for financial markets, was particularly potent for cryptocurrencies, a sector where Trump has hinted essentially a massive support of policies coming towards it. As the results rolled in, Bitcoin ascended, rapidly surpassing $75,000 mark, setting a new benchmark before experiencing a correction, shedding some light on the volatile nature of cryptocurrency markets under political shifts. Trump's pro-crypto stance has a subject of interest and speculation. He has made various promises that, if fulfilled, could potentially alter the regulatory landscape for cryptocurrencies inside the United States significantly. His campaign included pledges to dismantle current hurdles imposed by various regulatory bodies, including essentially proposing the dismissal of SEC Chairman Gary Gensler, the establishment of the National Bitcoin Reserve, and the elimination of capital gains tax on Bitcoin transactions. These proposals have stirred optimism within the crypto communities, suggesting a potential easing of certain regulations that have essentially hobbled the crypto market's growth. The reaction to Trump's victory was immediate in the financial metrics within the crypto markets. Bitcoin's price spiked by 7.7% post-elections, was a testament to the optimistic sentiments pervading inside the crypto space. His promise includes firing SEC Chairman Gary Gensler immediately, establishing a national Bitcoin stockpile, and aiming to make the US a global hub for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general. He also intends to retain the 203,650 BTC currently held by the US government, and abolish capital gains tax on Bitcoin, support domestic Bitcoin mining, and stop regulatory crackdowns on cryptocurrencies, and form a presidential advisory council for crypto, ensure the right, essentially self-custody digital assets, and oppose essentially some other methods that are going to be stopping them, and essentially commute the sentence of the Silk Road founder. These bold commitments have sparked discussions on whether he can fulfill these promises. The Coinbase Premium Index, a metric that gauges the buying interest in cryptocurrencies, particularly inside the US, showed a significant uptake following the election results. The index is often looked at the essentially temperature check on market sentiments, and the positive reaction highlighted anticipation of more favorable regulatory environments under Trump's administration. However, the promise made by Trump carry a weight of expectation that remains to be seen if they're going to be executed, which I believe 1,000,000,000% they're going to be executed. Trump is a man that stands by his words. That is why people voted for him, unlike other politicians. His victory speech retreated his commitment to the golden age of America, which many inside the crypto community interpret as a nod towards fostering a supportive environment for digital currencies and technologies. The speculative nature of these promises necessitates caution and optimism, as the actual implementation of these policies will be the true test of their impact for the cryptocurrency market. As Trump prepares to begin his term, the global crypto community remains vigilant and hopeful. The potential essentially changes inside the United States for cryptocurrency policies could have far-reaching implications, not just for Bitcoin, but for the entire digital space. It's massively positive. Investors and enthusiasts are essentially watching the developments, ready to see if the new administration will follow through on the pro-crypto theoretics that could hurdle a new era of cryptocurrencies inside the United States. In a remarkable turn of events, the cryptocurrency market has witnessed an influx of more than $200 billion. That is absolutely incredible. In a remarkable turn of events, the cryptocurrency market has witnessed an influx of more than $200 billion within just 24 hours. The surge comes in the wake of Bitcoin reaching its all-time new high, preparing to the overall market cap approximately $2.57 trillion. The recent spike in markets value is largely attributed to the heightened investor enthusiasm essentially surrounding potential political shifts, practically with Donald Trump gaining traction in the upcoming US presidential elections, as Bitcoin's price soared around $69,000 to an unprecedented $75,358. Numerous altcoins also experienced significant gains, which they're still doing right now. Among the standout performers, Solana has overtaken Binance's coin to become the fourth largest cryptocurrency, while Dogecoin has surged due to its association with Trump and Elon Musk. This bullish momentum has not only essentially revalidated investor confidence, but has also led to a substantial liquidations of over-leveraged short positions across the market. As the cryptocurrency landscape evolves, this latest development marks a pivotal moment for investors and enthusiasts alike, signaling a renowned optimism and potential growth inside the digital asset space. Absolutely incredible. Everything Trump said to the T, every single thing that Trump laid out, he will do. How do we know this? Because the last time, everything he said, he did it. Even though the news still claims Trump did nothing in the last 4 years he was president, he did everything in the last 4 years he was president, and he will once again do everything. And the news will still lie to you and say Trump will do nothing. He will do everything. Every single thing this man said, he will do. He's the only person in politics you can actually rely on that when he says something, he will do it. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. But the one thing I'm looking forward to is Gary Gensler getting fired. I don't want to see Gary Gensler essentially resigning. I want to see Gary Gensler getting fired. That is why I think not only me, I think the entire crypto space wants to see Gary Gensler getting fired. I hope, essentially Trump does it on the live. I mean, Trump is very different to other politicians. He does things differently, and that's why we love him. So I hope Trump does essentially a live or something when he does fire Gary Gensler, because that will also pump the markets once again. Now, moving away from that, which incredible, we're going to move to Tether for now, but then we're going to go back to Trump's policies. We're going to go back to cryptocurrency policies and so on. But I just want to talk about Tether for one quick second, because a lot of strange things have been happening inside the crypto space. Some very extremely positive and some a little bit odd. Because today, now that Trump has been announced as the president of the United States, today there's been a lot of movements happening inside the crypto space. And one of them is Tether. A lot of movements, extremely positive. Tether's one is a bit strange because Tether swaps more than 2 billion USDT to Ethereum network. Stablecoin issuer Tether announced it was conducting a large cross-chain swap of more than 2 billion USDT from various blockchain networks to Ethereum. Why is Tether suddenly overnight moving $2 billion from different chains into Ethereum? According to Tether, 1 billion USDT will be swapped from Tron network, 600 million USDT will be transferred from AVAX and C-Chain. An additional 300 million USDT from Near Protocol will also make its way to Ethereum network, and finally 60 million USDT from EOS network will also be swapped to Ethereum. Bit odd. The stablecoin firm essentially explained that the cross-chain swap was performed on behalf of a large and unnamed exchange wishing to transfer their USDT holdings from various cold wallets to the Ethereum blockchain. Now, bit strange. Tether also essentially assured investors that the large cross-chain transfer would not affect the total supply of USDT. The large, essentially, cross-chain transfer of USDT comes aimed at an unsustained report from Wall Street Journal that the United States government is investigating the stablecoin firm for essentially over-alleged money launderings and sanctions and violations. In a response to the news, crypto markets briefly were stumped of why Tether's movements, why straight after Trump, essentially why after announcements Trump is the next president of the United States, Tether moves about $1 billion. The market's uncertainty surrounding the digital assets market's largest fiat off-ramps prompted Tether's CEO to issue a breakdown of the company's reserves and assets backing its dollar pegged to stablecoins. Because everyone's a little bit uncertain regarding Tether, they wanted Tether to show the world their reserves. Tether didn't show the world their reserves. They showed a PowerPoint presentation with essentially them telling people we hold this much and this much and this much without actually showing transparency. Now, the reserve asset includes approximately 100 billion in US Treasury bills, 82. This is what they said. They said they're holding $100 billion in US Treasury bills, 82,000 bitcoins, valued at roughly $6.2 billion using current market prices, and 48 tons of gold, which recently hit an all-time high of 2,790 per an ounce against the US dollar. Tether's USDT also hit a market capitalization of $120 billion. This high market capitalization, which is seen by essentially many traders as proxy for increased trading activity inside the digital asset market space, is often seen as bullish sign for asset prices. However, the data from chain analysis revealed that stablecoins are increasingly used as a store of value in economics where the local currencies are rapidly depreciating and not for market speculation. So, a lot of movements have been happening around the world, with essentially South Korea coming up with some amazing policies right after Trump's announcements. A lot of countries have decided to, straight away, it was announced Trump is the next president of the United States. And the next morning, in majority of countries, they all came out with pro-crypto policies. And then you had Tether moving 1 billion USDT from different chains and putting into Ethereum. And when they were essentially asked the question of why are you doing this, they said we're doing it for an unnamed person or a large exchange or a large entity. And Tether is still being investigated. Even though they don't like to admit it, they're still being investigated. But now, moving away from Tether's very incredibly strange movements straight after Donald Trump's announcement of presidency, to reports from analysts. We have analyst reports to go through, essentially from Bernstein. So many analyst reports to essentially to go through right now. The first one we're going to go through is Timothy Peterson, essentially. We're going to go through some analyst reports right now of how they presume the market's going to be playing out in terms of policies, regulations, moving forward, and so on. Before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first. Let's see what's going inside there. As I said, this is a live, which means if you do have any questions, put them down inside the comment section. If you want any answers to any sort of crypto policies, crypto regulations, Donald Trump situations, put them down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to help out anyone with any sort of questions. Let's go inside the comment section, and then we go straight into the reports and market predictions from major analysts like Bernstein and so on, and Goldman Sachs. A lot of analyst reports to go through. Let's go inside the comment section first. Let's see where we were at. We were at here. Someone said I should sell and buy back. Hope he didn't sell. Someone said should I sell everything and buy back? Hope he didn't sell. Yep, someone did say that, and I said don't sell. Remember, about 2 days before the election of Donald Trump being announced, somebody said live said, should I sell and come back in? And I said, no, don't sell. It wasn't financial advice. I said to the person, don't sell. It was not financial advice. I said, from my own perspective, don't sell. And whoever that person was, I'm hoping, if he did listen to me, even though it wasn't financial advice, if he didn't sell, I'm guessing now he's very happy. Miles, can you guide us when to sell bull runs? Yes, I can. I've always been guiding you. How is 2025 looking, and who do you think markets should move? How is 2025 looking now? Excellent. Incredible, to be fairly honest. 2025, we're going to be looking forward to a lot of crypto regulations and policies. Look, the majority of countries around the world were slightly pro-crypto, you could say. I mean, the Middle East was very pro-crypto. The EU had a MiCA regulations coming through, so you could say they're slightly pro-crypto as well. I mean, South Korea was pro-crypto. Japan was pro-crypto. Singapore was #1 ranking country in terms of regulations and policies. So we've had a lot of countries that have been pro-crypto, but we needed the big one. We needed the United States of America, the big one, to be pro-crypto, because every country essentially follows their footsteps. And now that the US is going to be pro-crypto, so 2025 is going to be incredible. 2025 is going to be all about the United States of America bringing out crypto policies and regulations. First of all, firing Gary Gensler and getting a essentially pro-crypto SEC chairman. Now, in his replacement, Hester Pierce sounds like a good bet. I mean, she has been known as the mother of crypto. She is already working for the SEC. She was always against Gary Gensler's movements inside the crypto space. She's always criticized them publicly on many interviews in front of audiences and in front of Congress. Hester Pierce said that this is not the SEC's agenda to go after crypto essentially companies. This is the chairman's agenda. She said this in front of Gary Gensler, in front of Congress. So she has balls of steel, if you know what I mean, because she worked at the SEC while talking about her boss, let's just say. So she seems like a nice bet to be the next chairman of the SEC, knowing that her title is the crypto mother. If she gets into place, she brings out essentially crypto regulations and policies. The 2025, we're going to have crypto regulations and policies, a new chairman of the SEC. If the US is pro-crypto, a lot more countries that were moving slow are going to move a lot more faster. Some countries still didn't want to tiptoe inside the crypto space because they were unsure or uncertain. But if the United States is going to be pro-crypto and have pro-crypto regulations and policies, a new chairman of the SEC, and they're going to be passing more ETFs, there's a collection of ETFs that Gary Gensler has not even bothered looking at. The guy is the chairman of the SEC, and companies are applying for ETFs for the SEC to look at. And he hasn't even bothered to open up the portfolio to take a look at the title, never mind read what the descriptions are. So we're going to get a multitude of ETFs passing through, essentially. After the new chairman of the SEC, we're going to get ETFs rapidly passing. Obviously, not all ETFs are going to be passed. And if somebody's going to be applying for a camel token ETF, it's not going to be passed. But if we get essentially there's 3 XRP ETFs. There's a Bitwise, essentially XRP ETF, 21 shares XRP ETF, and a Canary, essentially XRP ETF as well. Those will get looked at and passed. The XRP case will come to some sort of a dismissal type of scenario. It's not going to be overnight, but we know for a fact SEC chairman has replaced. That case is going away. The ETFs are going to get accepted, and more ETFs for XRP are going to be happening. We're going to get also Chainlink ETFs. We're going to get Solana ETFs because there's already 2 Solana ETFs that have applied through the SEC that the SEC, again, has not bothered looking at. So we're going to get a multitude of regulations and policies, a new chairman of the SEC. We're going to get essentially more ETFs inside the United States space. Crypto essentially in general is going to be more infused and essentially intertwined with the corporate sector as well, which is amazing. Corporate money is the best money because they have all the money. So as I've said multiples of times, you've got to position yourselves correctly. Not only have I said this, Grayscale has said exactly what I said, and Goldman Sachs said the same thing, Standard Chartered Bank said the same thing, Kraken said the same thing, Crypto.com said the same thing, Bitwise said the same thing, which is the next clientele entering the crypto space at a rapid pace is institutional clientele. And now that we're going to have crypto regulations, they're going to be coming even faster inside the crypto space. Essentially, after Gary Gensler has been fired and we have a new chairman and regulations are passed, then we're going to get a multitude of institutions coming inside the crypto space. Not only that, the banks inside the United States, there are a multitude of banks that weren't allowed to work with crypto companies. The FIDIC essentially sent out 20 letters, the banking committee inside the United States, alongside Senator Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler. This man sent out 20 letters each to banks inside the United States to tell them not to work with crypto companies. Well, now that he's going to be also out the window, we're going to get a new person coming in his seat as well. Operation Chokehold for cryptocurrencies is going to go away. So that means banks inside the United States can now work with crypto companies. That stupid regulation that Gary Gensler put, the SAB 121 Act, which is basically that banks have to hold cryptocurrencies as liabilities on their balance sheets. No bank wanted to do that. That is also going to get tossed out. Congress wanted to remove that law, but the Biden administration, Kamala Harris, she wanted to veto it and essentially back Gary Gensler. But now that she's also out of the picture, I'm guessing Kamala Harris is going to go back to her previous job, which is OF. I mean, that was her previous job. She was doing it for free, but she was an OF person. So I'm guessing she's going to go back to her old job. But here's the thing. The United States is going to be incredibly positive on cryptocurrencies, which makes the rest of the world become incredibly positive on cryptocurrencies because the rest of the world doesn't want to get left behind either. If the American institutions start going more into cryptocurrencies, because now we have regulations, no crypto company wants to work in gray areas. Okay, there's not a single company that likes the idea of working in gray areas. Gray areas leads to you being fined. But when you have regulations, there is no more gray areas, which means you can enter the crypto space legally and do whatever you want. So when more American banks join the crypto space, because no longer they're being threatened not to join it, where more American banks join the crypto space, more institutions join essentially the crypto space, more ETFs are coming outside the United States as well. There's going to be countries that are going to be looking at the United States going, well, we don't want to get left behind. We got to pass ETFs. We got to pass policies. We got to pass regulations. We got to catch up to the United States. It's basically what's going to be happening, which means the entire world is starting to go rapid pacing towards digital currencies. So that future of a digital economy is pretty much there. 2025 is going to be the start of massive waves of institutional clients, massive wave of institutions coming in, massive waves of banks coming in. We're going to have a massive wave of ETFs coming in. It's going to be incredible, absolutely incredible. And the US is going to be the one that pushes this forward. It always needed to, because yes, we had Singapore who was pro-crypto, we had Dubai who was pro-crypto, the United Arab Emirates, or Kuwait, or Bahrain, or Qatar, or the EU, and essentially Japan or Hong Kong. That was excellent. But having the US pro-crypto makes everybody pro-crypto. Every single country doesn't want to get left behind now because of what essentially because of what Trump is going to be bringing to the table. Once he gets essentially into power, once he sits on that seat, and once he fires Gary Gensler 20th of January onwards. Because they're going to be pro-crypto, the rest of the world is going to be pro-crypto because nobody wants to get left behind. And I'll give you a small example of not getting left behind. MicroStrategy, as I said multiple times, MicroStrategy, MSTR stock. Essentially, the first Bitcoin ETF inside the crypto space was MSTR stock, where MicroStrategy was buying Bitcoin. Corporates tend to follow each other. Because of MicroStrategy buying Bitcoin, no matter what the price was, and backing into their balance sheets. By the way, MicroStrategy is making an incredible buck right now. But because essentially nobody wants to get left behind in those types of scenarios, many companies decided to follow MicroStrategy. I mean, we had Canadian companies following MicroStrategy's footsteps. We had a Japanese company, Metaplanet, following their footsteps. This is what happens inside the corporate sector, where you have one company do something inside the crypto sector or a new sector nobody's entered into. They do very well for themselves. Other companies tend to follow. Now, imagine that scale by 10,000 times more, because now you have an entire country that is going to become pro-crypto, that is going to have essentially crypto regulations and crypto policies, and it's going to be passing ETFs for altcoins. It's going to be passing essentially regulations, going to get banks involved, going to get institutions involved, and so on. So imagine that essentially at times 1,000, times 10,000. Honestly, it's going to be incredible. These 4 years that's going to be heading our way, these 4 years is all about making money. The 4 years that we're going to be heading towards us is all about making money. We're going to put essentially the lazy years behind us. And they genuinely were the lazy years, where essentially the years of depression that everyone was going through because all the prices were through the roof and nobody can afford anything. Nobody can afford groceries or essentially gas or electricity or buy a house or anything. Everybody was just so depressed. We're going to put those depression years behind us and we're going to move forward to the 4 years of just making money. That's where we're headed to right now. And 2025 is going to be incredible. Absolutely incredible. Because if one company, as I said, if one company can, essentially bring a few companies around, if MicroStrategy can make a Japanese company follow their footsteps, 2 Canadian companies follow their footsteps, a South Korean company follow their footsteps, and that was just one company inside the corporate sector that other corporates decided to follow. Imagine an entire country being pro-crypto, passing regulations, bringing policies, getting banks involved, getting institutions involved. If one country, and it's the United States, it's not a random country, it's the United States. So if they do that, I mean, times that by 10,000, everybody wants to be involved now. Every single company in this world wants to essentially get involved after that. Because they're saying, well, the US is doing excellent. Everybody's making money. Everybody's got essentially regulations and policies passed. They're moving towards a digital future. We don't want to get left behind. China. There was a time period, essentially about 2 months before, where China, or 1 month before, where China was thinking about bringing crypto policies and regulations. Justin Sun was the one that's pushing China to essentially bring crypto regulations, because I'm guessing they don't want to get left behind now either. China is essentially one of the biggest competitors to the US. So if the US is going to be pro-crypto, passing regulations, getting banks involved, getting institutions involved, and basically making money, China wants to make money too. So they're going to be passing regulations because essentially they don't get left behind. Honestly, we're heading towards 4 years of putting our heads down and just making money, which is what we needed. And just to put these years that we essentially finally is coming to an end, and just to put these useless years that we've been going through behind us, and pretend we never heard anybody by the name of Sleepy Joe or essentially OnlyFans Kamala Harris. So we're going to put essentially all of those things behind us and just move forward. 4 years of making money, 4 years of regulations, 4 years of policies, 4 years of ETFs, 4 years of every institution, every bank, not just inside the United States, but the entire world getting involved. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. That's what we're headed. So how's 2025 looking? Amazing. When will regulations will come? Very soon, actually. Well, 20th of January is the pass. So 20th of January is basically when we're looking forward to Gary Gensler being fired. After he's fired, new SEC chairman, regulations will slowly start to flow. And because we have majority seat in the Senate, even better. Even better. Republicans won every angle. Every category, Republicans dominated. This political race that we had wasn't even a race. It was nowhere near a race. It was a demolition. One side just, it was genuinely, it was not a political race, it was a demolition. Republicans won everything. Miles, let's see where we were at. Deadline, January 20th passes, then we'll know. Regulations coming March time 2025 is what Ladder said. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Very good to see you as well. How you doing? I saw an article that the guy from Tron wants to offer a job to Gary. Having Donald Trump and Elon in the White House is very good for crypto. It's amazing news for crypto, honestly. Elon Musk is an incredibly, as I've said, Elon Musk is an incredibly intelligent person. And he will do amazing things inside the White House. He will definitely clean up the White House. He would clean up the FBI because a lot of strange situations are going on there as well. He would clean up all the corrupt politicians. This is going to be absolutely amazing. On one side, we're going to get rid of the corrupt politicians. We're going to get rid of the corrupt lawyers, the corrupt and manipulated judges, and the corrupt and manipulated FBI members and so on that have been trying to censor people. That whole phase about censorship, yeah, that's not going to go too well for them. Now Elon Musk is in the White House. Will Dogecoin go high? Most likely, yes, because Elon Musk has always been pro, essentially, Doge. He's been extremely pro Doge. And, I mean, Doge was doing incredibly well for itself as well last night. 30% up. Incredible. Hi, Miles. What a fantastic night yesterday. I just can't wait for the future. Let's go, Addy. Evening, Miles and CMF and Trump supporters. Let's go, Semper. When you think XRP can now has its movements and less stablecoin bearings? Yes, pretty much. Can't have a better duo in the White House working for the US. Let's go. Happy CMF. Let's go, William. Mike Tyson should become the new leader for the SEC. Lol. I heard on X that Obama left the country in the middle of the night. I'm not sure, but I'll be researching this info. I'm guessing probably because Obama was on the Epstein list or the Diddy list, either one of those lists. Well, that list is coming out as well also. That's going to be interesting to watch. I think a lot of celebrities left the United States last night as well, I'm guessing, most likely. All the celebrities that were endorsing Kamala Harris, ironically, are the same celebrities on the Diddy list and most likely on the Epstein list. Miles, when bull run will be high price like 150 for one chain link? It's very highly possible. Tether is, so I agree with you regarding that story. Tether is going to be like Gary, bye-bye, pretty much. That person must be loving their bag now. When the internet essentially blackouts come, some person is saying will happen like this thing. Miles, how can I make money now next 4 years? Will you guide us? I've always been guiding everyone. Evening, Miles and CMF. Pure, it's good to see you as well. How you doing? Evening, brother. How you been? Yes, I heard Obama and his wife left the United States. Of course they did. No, Obama's very slimy. He's very slimy. I've never trusted him. Thanksgiving is coming up inside. I've never trusted Obama. I've never trusted Sleepy Joe. I've never trusted Kamala Harris. OF Kamala Harris or Skamala. Never trusted any one of them. Thanks again. Thanksgiving is coming up for the US. This is a topic that will come up in dinner tables. Yes, it will. And do you know the funniest part is CNN is still spewing lies about Donald Trump. still spewing lies. I mean, at one point, you got to give up the lies, because ironically, the only news channel inside the United States that was giving out accurate information last night was just essentially Fox News. Fox News was the only one giving out accurate information last night, whereas all the other news channels like CNN, ABC, The View, every other news channel was giving out some spewing lies. And again, the moment it was announced Trump is the president of the United States, CNN was still lying on live. They don't give up. They're still lying. It's true, Michelle Obama is a transvestite. Is it true that Michelle Obama is a transvestite? I don't know if Michelle Obama is a transvestite. I personally don't know, but you can ask Michael about it. Analyst. So we're going to go through some analyst reports. I mean, not Michael, sorry, Michelle. Analysts essentially say, we're going to go through some analyst reports right now regarding how the market is going to be playing out. So, analyst reports. Shares what we can expect to happen in cryptocurrencies with Donald Trump becoming US president. A lot of perspectives that came out inside the market space from Standard Chartered, essentially Goldman Sachs. So many reports that came out. Bernstein, which we're going to go through on tonight's live as well. They came out with their new recent essential perspective on the market space. So this one, with the election of Donald Trump as the 47th essentially election of the With the election of Donald Trump as the 47th president of the United States, cryptocurrency-focused economist Timothy essentially Peterson has stated that he believes it will be a transformative period for Bitcoin and the overall digital asset market. Peterson touched on the following important points inside the statements. Peterson said, essentially, he noted that the current SEC chairman, Gary Gensler, whose term officially runs through 2026. It is true, Gary Gensler should be technically leaving office 2026, but not anymore because he's going to be fired. He's potentially being ousted. Gary Gensler has been at the center of controversy within the crypto communities due to his aggressive stance on regulatory digital assets. According to Peterson, his recent elections and results have positioned Congress in a way that Gary Gensler's term will not last long. With the Senate taking his place, Gensler will be out and will have no rule over the government, no rule essentially in the government ever again, pretty much. Peterson said that adding that Gary Gensler's departure could lead to a more innovation-friendly regulatory environments, which is facts, and it will. Referred to as, so who's going to be essentially replacing Gary Gensler? So Peterson suggested that Hester Pierce, often referred to as the crypto mother, could be a strong candidate to replace Gary Gensler. Known for her advocacy of regulatory openness and her safe harbor proposal aimed at the encouraging crypto projects, Pierce would be in line with the pro-crypto sentiments of Trump's administration. The SEC chairman is appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate, so her appointment could mark a significant policy shift. One notable change in Congress is the departure of Senator Sherrod Brown, a former chairman of the Senate Banking and Finance Committee and a staunch crypto opponent. Yeah, this man needs to be replaced, and he's being replaced as well. Brown played a key role in supporting regulatory measures seen as the crypto industries, such as Operation Chokehold 2.0. Operation Chokehold 2.0 was Senator Elizabeth Warren, Gary Gensler, and the FDIC chairman, which he's going, Gary Gensler is going. It's just Elizabeth Warren left by herself. You know that old saying, and then there was one. Brown played a role in the Operation Chokehold 2.0. Peterson called Brown's departure a positive move, noting that it essentially paves the way for a pro-crypto Senate like Tim Scott to lead the committee moving forward. With the election results, prominent names such as Tim Scott, Cynthia Luminis, Ted Cruz, Marshall Blackburn, and Bill Haggerty, who essentially supports Bitcoin and digital innovation, have begun to emerge in the Senate. Peterson stated that this group could also shape legislatives that supports the growth of cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology in the United States in the coming years. Peterson also touched on the Trump's complicated relationships with Bitcoin, noting that Trump has both criticized and later supported Bitcoin in the space for 5 years. While Trump himself has not invested deeply in understandings of Bitcoins, Peterson suggested that his influential pro-crypto figures around him, such as Vivek Ramsey, who's pro-crypto, Elon Musk, pro-crypto, J.D. Vance, pro-crypto, Robert F. Kennedy, pro-crypto, could help guide the administration towards policies favorable to digital assets. I mean, this is just the team. If you ever wanted the winning team in any sporting event, this is the team that you needed behind you. Vivek Ramsey, Elon Musk, JD Vance, Robert F. Kennedy. What more would you want? Honestly, what more would you want? This essentially administration can begin to lay the groundwork for an eventual Bitcoin currency reserve similar to how the United States maintains its gold or oil reserves, Peterson said. Facts, absolute facts. Everything that essentially this particular analyst said from his analyst firm, absolute facts. Essentially the best team behind essentially Donald Trump. Even if Donald Trump doesn't have the incredible understanding of the detail of what blockchain essentially is, or what Web3 is, or what cryptocurrency in general are, at least he has Elon Musk behind him, or JD Vance, or essentially Vivek Ramsey, and so on, or Robert F. Kennedy. These are people who understand what crypto is. But if you wanted the best crypto person standing behind you, Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the most incredibly intelligent person ever to be. So he's standing behind him. We're good. Now, moving away from that perspective to this one. There's a lot of perspectives. US lawmakers double down on crypto promises after Trump win. In one of her first post-election messages, Wyoming Senator Cynthia Luminous is also very pro-crypto, retweeted her plans for United States lawmakers to build a street Bitcoin reserve, presumably when Republicans take a majority control of the Senate in 2025. In a post today, Cynthia Luminous said that she essentially intended to move forward with her plans to establish a Bitcoin reserve inside the United States. The Wyoming Republican introduced the Bitcoin Act in July for U.S. government to buy 1 million BTC, roughly 5% of the total supply, and hold it for at least 20 years. With Republicans expected to have a majority inside the U.S. Senate after flipping essentially 3 seats on the election day, Cynthia Luminous and her colleagues may have the votes needed to carry out the plans, which is the most important factor. Because we have a pro-president, excellent. We also have majority seat, which is even better, because that means regulations will pass much more easier. So even her essentially stating this, Cynthia Luminous stating her and her colleagues may have the votes needed to carry out the plans for crypto policies now. Her proposed bill essentially built upon the idea pitched by then presidential candidate Donald Trump, who suggested that the U.S. government not to sell any of the seized Bitcoins. Cynthia Luminous has been one of Congress's most vocal pro-crypto voices since taking office in 2021. She was not up for the re-election on November 5th, but continued to speak in favor of digital asset policies as Republicans, including Trump, campaigned in 2024 with their pro-crypto platforms. Aimed major news outlets reporting that Trump and Republicans were projected to win the presidency, made majority control of the Senate and potentially the House of Representatives. The price of Bitcoin surged to more than $76,000. Democrats will remain in control of the Senate until January 3rd, with presidential Joe Biden in office until January 20th. Through majority control of the House was not certain at that time of publication. Some industry leaders are suggesting that Democrats' performance could have been the result of the party's position on crypto. Democratic Senators Sherrod Brown, one of the party's anti-crypto voices in Congress, lost his seat to Republican Bernie Monroe. Look, yes, Democrats being anti-crypto lost them their seats, facts. But it wasn't just crypto that lost the Democrats their seats. It was the Democrats trying to push stupid ideas onto regular people. The Democrats wanted to push the idea that men can get periods. Nobody wanted to hear that. The Democrats wanted to push the idea that essentially your children need to, essentially can choose their gender, which is a stupid idea. The Democrats were pushing essentially the idea of if the child wants to, get a tattoo, he has to be 22 years old or 21 years old. But if he wants to change his gender, he can do it at 5 years old, which is a stupid idea. So the Democrats were pushing away parents. They're pushing away in every sort of category. It's just, we had enough of their ridiculous agendas. We genuinely had enough of their ridiculous agendas, and the world could pretty much go back to normal. So it wasn't just crypto that it wasn't just crypto that the reason of why Democrats lost. It was the stupid agendas they were trying to push on the people. The stupid agendas of, essentially women can enter men's sports. It's a stupid idea. Or the other agendas of, the children. There's so many ridiculous, moronic agendas. People could identify as a toaster. People could identify as a cat. I mean, there was just too many moronic ideas where the world was going somewhere very confusing and dark. And Trump is being the man that's going to bring the world back to the light, which is amazing. The world was moving away from God and just going very, very weird. Now we're back on the path of going towards God, no matter what your religion is and so on, respective of his religion, but we're going on the right path now. So it wasn't just crypto that lost the Democrats the seats. It was the moronic ideologies that were pushing on people, trying to make people satanic worshippers, trying to essentially manipulate kids or manipulate kids in education, or tell essentially adults that, you know, women are men and men are women, and they couldn't even explain what a woman was, which was stupid from the first place. So it was so many reasonings of why Democrats lost the seats, and it wasn't just crypto, just to point that out. So there were so many reasons why Democrats lost the seats, and it was just people, regular people, who just wanted to go to work, come back home, spend time with their family. That is what people wanted. People just want normal things. People want to go to work, come back, spend time with their families, be able to afford a house, be able to essentially go on vacations. That's all people want. Nobody cares about the stupid agendas you're pushing, which is why you lost your seats. Because a tiny portion, a very tiny portion of the world liked the Democrat agendas, which were, you know, essentially people choosing their own genders and people identifying as giraffes, and so on, and so many other moronic ideas. It was a tiny portion of the world. The rest of the world just wants to be left alone. They just want to go to work, spend time with their family, go on vacations, buy a house, buy a new car, enjoy life. That's what people want. Nobody wants the ideas that they were pushing. And Trump is the man to put the world back on the right path, to put the world back on the right path of God, to put the world right, in general, on the right path. Because we were steering towards a very weird and awkward path. So thank God, genuinely thank God, no matter what God you believe in, thank God that essentially Trump was chosen. But that is why the Democrats lost their seats. Because they lost the plot. Genuinely, Democrats lost the plot. Now, so for the Democrats to say, oh, we lost the seats because we're, you know, anti-crypto. No, it's not because you were just anti-crypto. It's because you're all morons. Their biggest mistake was essentially antagonizing the entire crypto communities. It wasn't just that. Said Startup Accelerator, why essentially the co-founder Paul and Graham, and post addressing the election results for Democrats. And this was entirely unnecessary. There wasn't some of the constitutions and so on and scenarios. But yeah, genuinely, it wasn't just, you know, essentially crypto that lost the Democrats the seats. Take responsibility, okay? All the Democratic politicians, take responsibility, because you were feeding some BS to people. You're feeding BS to children. You're feeding BS to adults. You're feeding BS to parents. So take some responsibility. Honestly, all the Democratic politicians, take responsibility. You were trying to identify people as giraffes. Take responsibility. That is why you lost the seats, because regular people don't want that BS. And there were so many other BSs you were going for. So it's not just crypto that made you lose those seats. It was everything else also that people just were fed up on. And we needed someone to, you know, essentially be the voice for us. And Trump was that voice. Everybody wanted to say what Trump said publicly all the time, but we never could. And Trump said it for us. So thank God we have somebody like Trump who stands in front of people like them and says it how it is. Because everything that man said is what essentially what everybody wants to say, that your ideologies are stupid. Identifying your genders and saying women in schools and this and then men's tampons and men's people, it was just stupid. So thank God we have somebody like Trump who's in a power seat and just stands up to these people and goes, no. So that is why the Democrats lost their seats, not just because of crypto. Now, what we're going to talk about next is Trump 2.0. But I'm guessing everybody agrees with me. If you agree with just what I said right now, put facts inside the comment section. If you agree with everything I just said right now, that we were fed up with all the stupid ideologies that were trying to push onto us. And the reason why the Democrats lost their seats is because they were trying to push those stupid ideologies on me. If you agree with me, put facts inside the comment section right now. Just put facts inside the conversation, if you agree with me. That you are fed up with these Democrats pushing stupid agendas on your kids, stupid agendas on parents, stupid agendas on anyone. Put facts inside the conversation. Let's go inside the comment section before we go through Trump 2.0. Honestly, stupidest thing I ever heard. Tampons in men's bathroom. What the hell is a man? What the hell is a man going to do with a tampon? Tampons in men's bathrooms. Those are one of the reasons you lost your seats, Democrats. Thanks. He's 100%. I can do the investigation. Handshake. Good morning, Miles and CMF. Congratulations on our win. Go Trump. Let's go. Go Spooner. The dream team of crypto. Facts. Absolutely facts. How will Trump win affect UK government? A lot. Absolutely a lot. They were controlled by the World Economic Forum. Yeah. Control is one thing, but brainwash was another. Because the Democrats were controlled by the World Economic Forum. But what about the people that are believing their brainwash scenarios? So it was brainwashing to do with it as well. Trump, let's go peg. Not just agendas, but censorship and illegal lawsuits and more. Facts. Do you know CNN? So I saw CNN today, and a clip came up of them announcing, Trump won and so on. And there was a debate going on CNN because Trump won. And the people on the CNN panel, they invited Democrats over and one Republican. So they invited four Democrats on CNN to talk about Trump's victory and one Republican. One of the Democrats on CNN said essentially that Trump is not going to be doing anything. He didn't do anything the last 4 years. He never does anything for anybody and so on. It's just pure spewing lies. And then the other Democrat was continuing forward with that same argument. Trump doesn't do anything. He doesn't help anybody. Nobody needs his help. I mean, essentially, we lost. It's okay. We can move on. But, he's going to be out soon anyways. We'll choose another one. We'll do it better this time around. And then the funny part was one of the Democrats, not the Republican. There was 3 Democrats and 1 Republican on that panel. 1 Republican, 3 Democrats. One of the Democrats, one of their own people on CNN, just said, hold on a minute. No, because the reason why people chose Trump was because people were fed up. And he said, me and my wife, and this is a Democrat saying this, by the way. So imagine where this man's level reached, where he went against his own group. He said, me and my wife walked into Target, and we went to Target, and we went to buy some items in Target, and then everything was in little boxes in Target. And it was like deodorant and lotion and shampoos and everything. Everyone was in little boxes. And he said, I'm seeing it with my own eyes. The reason people voted for Trump is because we don't even have basic laws for people stealing from shops. We don't even have basic laws in this country for stealing from shops, where we have to call staff members to open the little box so I can get 1 deodorant or 1 toothpaste. He said this is just one small example of why people voted for Trump, because we don't even have the basic laws in this country. And this was a Democrat saying this. This man had enough. And you know what happened after he said this? The CNN anchor person, the lady, she ignored him and turned back to the other Democrats and said, so what was that question you were saying? I mean, these are the people that are feeding people BS. There was 1 Republican on that panel on CNN. There was 1 Republican on that panel and 3 Democrats. And one of the Democrats backed Trump. And the CNN anchor said, ignored him pretty much. Didn't even bother answering to him. She just turned her back on him and went, so what were you saying to the other Democrats? It's like the guy didn't even exist. This is the world we live in. So thank God Trump won. Genuinely thank God Trump won. All facts, Miles. Absolutely. Let's go, Ray. 100% Miles. Let's go, Ghost Runner. Facts. Let's go, Davey. Facts. Let's go, Cali. Joe. Facts. Let's go. Triple facts. Ginos. Let's go. Dennis. Facts. G. Facts. Freedom Feather. Facts. Troy. Facts. X. Facts. Mike. Facts. William. Facts. Everyone's facts. Let's go. The Democrats lost their seats a long time ago. It's got nothing to do with the cryptocurrencies. It's about putting litter cat boxes on bathrooms in schools. Yes. Do you know there was people identifying as cats in schools, and they didn't speak they could speak English, but they didn't want to speak English, and they wanted to make cat noises to the teacher. And by law, the teacher had to make cat noises back. That's the level we reached. That's the level we reached. That's one of the levels we reached. And we said, basically, there was many reasons why the Democrats lost their seats. Because they're all satanic, manipulative, corrupt people. All the Democratic parties. Satanic, manipulative, corrupt people. Facts. God did this for all of us. Facts. Absolute facts, Shay. And facts, what JP said as well. Democrats caved into pressure from trans communities. They can't be trusted or respected. 100% facts. Let's go, Mike. Silencing professionals in special fields and making them look useless. Absolutely facts. Do you know, during COVID times, when they were censoring people, they were censoring doctors during COVID times. They were censoring scientists. They were censoring doctors. And then people would say, oh, well, the doctor said, the COVID vaccine is good. Well, of course, the COVID vaccine is good when you censor the other side of doctors. When you censor one side, obviously, when you get one side of the information, you go, yeah, it's good. So, yeah, facts. What Gino said as well, silencing professionals in special fields. That's another reason why Democrats lost their seats. They messed up. The Democrats did horrendous things to the United States. Absolutely horrendous things the Democrats did to the United States. How long before being? Not that long. Not that long ago. We're not that far off. We need Trump in Canada. We need Trump in the UK. We need Trump everywhere. Facts. Let's go, leader. That's our corrupt media. Thank God for X. Facts. Now shut down the borders. Absolutely facts. Trump 2.0. To see significant changes, not just in crypto, but also in AI. I mean, this man's going to be changing every field. Innovation is just going to be coming out of every angle inside the United States. Trump 2.0, to see significant changes on AI landscape inside the United States also. Donald Trump winning the US elections for another term, now dubbed Trump 2.0, is expected to see AI grow in leaps and bounds under his term. This comes as Trump is viewed as essentially a hard railer, as essentially a no-nonsense man alongside his MAGA crew. But the markets are betting that under his regime, AI will also develop faster after the Republicans win last night. Like a child, AI will grow under permissive rather than under guidance of strict parents. In the markets, securities told essentially clients, Wedbush Securities told clients that Republicans win must boost technology stocks and AI. A lot of companies in Wall Street have all came out and said exceptionally positive things. A multitude, to be fairly honest, a multitude of companies in Wall Street have came out and said massively positive things about Trump. They said, for example, we expect a very robust bullish market reaction this morning from Mr. Trump win, and with the big tech and Tesla front and center, analysts at the firm wrote in a note to clients. That said, we would expect a strong AI focus out of the gates from Trump for the US big tech players, Khan out of the FTC, and Musk's big bet on Trump being a home run for Tesla. Wedbush Securities said essentially this news as AI companies face two dilemmas during their recent elections. The new former Vice President Kamala Harris was responsible for AI policies, and she did absolutely nothing. To be fairly honest, Kamala Harris was essentially had so many responsibilities. She had the responsibility of the borders for one of them, which she did absolutely nothing. Every responsibility Kamala Harris had, she did absolutely nothing. I mean, for Sleepy Joe, for Joe Biden, we can say, okay, I mean, The reason why Joe Biden didn't do any of his responsibilities is because he probably had 2 brain cells left. One of his brain cells he was using to stand up properly, and the other brain cell Joe Biden was using to sleep. So he had 2 brain cells left. So that's why Joe Biden didn't do anything and didn't do any of his essentially roles as a president. But what was Kamala Harris's excuse? Laziness? Kamala Harris didn't even bother showing up to her own event last night to do a speech. People waited 2 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours waiting for Kamala Harris to do a speech, what people were doing last night. And she went to sleep. Laziness is her, essentially, she's useless and lazy. Before, AI companies were faced with a major dilemma because Kamala Harris was in charge of regulating AI. So AI companies faced 2 dilemmas. During her recent elections, the new former Vice President Kamala Harris was responsible for AI policy directions under the Biden administration. And this one, the AI industry saw executive orders and like-minded policies. However, some analysts have argued that these policies were not prohibitive, but played checks and balances to bring transparency to the growing industry. Obviously, Kamala Harris stifling the situation and doing nothing about it. According to Axios, essentially, there are factors that are likely to combine discourage federal efforts to set limits on AI tech. One of them is that traditional Republicans have always been skewed towards laziness, which is facts, and policies and hostile to regulations. Now, a Fortune article also essentially concurs with Trump's stance on AI regulations, as his elections and manifestos pledged to reverse Biden's 2023 executive order on AI. Additionally, the Federal Trade Commission stance on AI regulations, as his elections manifesto pledged to reverse Biden's 2023 executive order on AI. In addition, the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, headed by Lina Khan, a Biden essentially appointee, is expected to see major changes on the Trump. Yep, she's getting fired also. Who brought radical, essentially, antitrust to the commission and has been investigating big tech firms like AI, like Microsoft, Nevada, OpenAI, and other essentially deals that see to violate AI companies. However, Trump's presidency and the Fortune article predicts that both Khan and her investigators are unlikely to return. Everybody that was working for Sleepy Joe and inside the Biden administration get a new job. Honestly, Trump should fire every single one of them, which he is. However, the Trump's presidency, the Fortune article predicts that essentially them getting fired. Also, Trump's what they're predicting is not only is everybody that was around essentially Sleepy Joe and Biden administration, not only were they stifling innovation, but they were also using their regulatory powers to go after crypto firms and go after AI firms, which means that this one particular analyst from this company is predicting, Axios' company is predicting from Wall Street, that they might even get investigated. The people that were stifling crypto innovation and AI innovation might even get investigated, not just fired by Donald Trump, but also get investigated, which is not a bad idea. Not only is AI benefiting from a Trump election win as the price of Bitcoin hit a new high on Wednesday, as all of the stocks related to cryptocurrencies. This is because investors are predicting that a Trump presidency will be a launchpad for cryptocurrencies. In the early tradings of Wednesday, Bitcoin surged about 8%, reaching about $75,000 and up, breaking its March 2024 records before it cooled down to around $73,000. Ether, the second most popular cryptocurrency in the world, has also gained essentially among other cryptocurrencies like Elon Musk's favorite crypto project, Dogecoin. Companies linked to cryptocurrencies saw their shares jump on the Republican win. Coinbase, which is arguably the biggest cryptocurrency exchange, saw its shares gain 17%. With online brokerages, with others essentially with offers, crypto tradings, and Robinhood's markets jumping 12%, as MicroStrategy's largest corporate holder of Bitcoin saw its shares go up in value by 10%. Everybody was happy. Everybody's still happy. And we're going to be happy for another 4 years. President Trump has been known as a critic of digital currencies from his first term in office, but during the campaign period, he vowed to make the US the capital crypto of the planet, which he will, and make a straight reserve of Bitcoin. Ross, the investment director at AG Bell, believes that Bitcoin has always been an asset that would benefit from a Trump presidency because he declared his love for the digital currency. He also asserted that crypto traders now have new motivation to be even more excited about the new direction of the asset prices, while Republicans believe in free range which essentially is a good policy direction for AI companies as new administrations. It is not a fan of strict regulations. AI creators and leaders are essentially of the consensus that the technology needs to check and balances and essentially be used for good or bad regarding AI. OpenAI's chief executive Sam Altman also reported to have told developers in the event that in London, we're working on these models. Definitely feels like being on the other side of the angels. Some of the critics of the technologies raise arguments that AI could have some bad implications, but with the correct regulations, AI could prevail, do better. They said that I feel that Trump's return will lead to further delegations of the tech sectors, resulting in impacts on human rights and worldwide, said Professor Sandra of the Oxford Internet Institution, a leading figure inside a study in tech and regulations. She said, I worry about unsafe, inaccurate, biased, and obscure, essentially AI use for hiring, school administrations, loan decisions, and healthcare. She added, she shouldn't be worried whatsoever. It's going to save the absolute world. It's going to save the absolute world. Now, moving away from Trump 2.0 to JP Morgan is what we're going to talk about next. As I said, many companies announced new things straight away after Trump's presidency announcement. And one of those companies was JP Morgan. JP Morgan, and as I said, 2025, we're going to get more banks, more regulations, more policies, new chairman of the SEC. We're going to get CBDC releases as well. In 2025, we're going to have a lot of CBDC releases. A lot of things happening in 2025. But straight away, announcement, Trump, next president of the United States. Next morning, JP Morgan makes an announcement. And this is JP Morgan's announcement. JP Morgan rebrands its Onyx blockchain platform to Kineas. JP Morgan's Chase & Co., a global financial service firm, is about to transform global financial transactions with a rebranded offering. The global firm recently teased the launch of an instant dollar-euro foreign exchange FX settlements on its blockchain platform. Kineas is what they're calling it. I think Onyx was a better name. They're moving to Kineas, and they're going to be expanding. JP Morgan's banking system is going to be expanding into a worldwide type of scenario. At the Singapore FinTech Festival, JP Morgan executives announced the firm's plans to offer seamless real-time FX settlements between the US dollar and the euros. This project will leverage JP Morgan's coin, JP Morgan's essentially digital token, to boost transaction efficiency. It also promises to simplify international finance through blockchain technology. The feature, set to launch in 2025, poised to streamline FX conversions. It also aims to reduce operational bottlenecks in the cross-border financial landscape. By integrating FX capabilities, Kineas promises to essentially to not only speed up transactions, but also minimize the risk traditionally tied to FX trades, is what JP Morgan is saying. This technology will help businesses eliminate the need for pre-fundings, offering more flexibility and greater access to essentially the working capital in real time. Well, something also like, it's also something very, very similar to what Ripple's doing and XRP is doing. Kineas, JP Morgan's private blockchain platform, has evolved from its early days as Onyx, experiencing impressive growth since its launch. Kineas is essentially positioning itself as a leader in blockchain-based financial operations. The network has over $2 billion in daily transactions and a total notion value over $1.5 trillion. The platform is on track to handle even larger volumes as its capabilities expand to more essential currencies and pairs. Kineas will simplify liquidity management and reduce risk by allowing clients to make international transactions anytime. With partners like Simmons, BlackRock, and Ant International, JP Morgan is poised to create a strong multi-chain system for instant transactions. The first phase of the initiative will focus on dollar-euro settlements, but JP Morgan's plans to add more currencies like the British pound pending regulatory approval. JP Morgan's global co-head of payments envisions a future where blockchain ecosystems seamlessly interact with each other. As blockchain ecosystems continue to evolve, JP Morgan's vision for fractionless multi-currency clearing and settlements networks is becoming increasingly achievable. Kineas is paving the way for the future where blockchain does not just support banking systems, but actively powers them, providing faster, more secure, and more cost-effective solutions for businesses and clients worldwide. This new era for blockchain in banking essentially promises to redefine liquidity management, reduce risk, and offer unprecedented speed and accessibility in global finance. So JP Morgan is rebranding itself to Kineas from essentially Onyx, which Onyx was a better name, but they're rebranding themselves to the title of Kineas. They're actually offering something very, very similar to Ripple. You could almost even say Ripple might be in the background of this scenario, because JP Morgan is going to be offering pre-liquidity accounts where they know the structure that JP Morgan is now offering, their new structure that they're going to be offering, is very similar to what Ripple's doing. Extremely similar to what Ripple's doing. Maybe Ripple does have a hand in this scenario. It's possible, highly possible, because very similar. Very, very similar. Now, JP Morgan has also said very positive things about Ripple in the past. Very positive things. They said Ripple's platform is incredible in terms of how they can handle transactions with speed and reliability and secureness. So they've said multiple positive things in the past while the SEC case was going on. And in the Ripple case, it did state that Ripple is essentially working with around 1,500 or 1,600, 1,400 essentially corporations. Obviously, the corporations were not named in the lawsuits, but they are working with a ridiculous amount of corporations and a ridiculous amount of banks. So you never know. And they announced this straight after the next morning, after comes out, President Trump, next president of the United States, next morning, JP Morgan announces this. They're moving forward with their new model. Now, what we're going to talk about next is VCs, venture capitalists. But before we go through that, let's go to the comment section first. If you do have any questions, this is a live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down in the comment section. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Let's go through the comment section first. Before we go through VC news, which is also incredible news, very positive news, very bullish news next as well. But let's go to the comment section first. Let's see what's going on in there. When the woke mentality, the woke community, or this woke community goes way up in the government and military, they secretly have a lot of control. Yeah, it is very, very weird. But it's true, it's facts. What goes for us, absolute facts. When do you think Trump will start talking about CBDCs? I don't think Trump is personally going to be the one that talks about CBDCs. He might do, but CBDCs is going to be something that still happens inside the United States, because even the American banks have done test trials on CBDCs, wholesale CBDCs. Even the US banks have done test trials on wholesale CBDCs. The US banks, so some of them, the higher up banks like JP Morgan, so they're a part of wholesale CBDC testings for the Bank of International Settlements. The Federal Reserve has also been testing on CBDCs, wholesale and retail CBDCs. So it's something that's going to be happening either way. He might possibly, talk about it and so on, but it's something that's going to be happening. 98% of the world in centralized banks on CBDCs, and nobody's going to stop CBDCs. That's the only thing that nobody can stop. Everything else can be stopped. Everything else can be stopped. The stupid ideologies can be stopped, because that stupid ideology doesn't need to be in the world. But CBDC is something that cannot be stopped, because we need to move away from fiat. So that is something that's going to be happening. We need to move away from fiat. A lot of people say, cash is king. I want to stick with cash. I don't want to go to, digital payments and so on. What you need to understand, okay, is that, I'm not saying you, what people need to understand is that, yes, cash is, essentially untraceable. If you want an untraceable currency, it's cash. This is a perspective even from Homeland Security. Homeland, essentially, a member of Homeland Security came out and said that, if you want to be untraceable, use cash. Cryptocurrencies, they can still track you. They said private cryptocurrencies like Monero and so on is difficult to track, but any other cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or essentially any other cryptocurrency that you can buy on exchanges, you can be fully tracked on transaction to transaction. You do 1,000 transactions, don't know who you are. Cash is pretty much untraceable, he said. But here's the thing. Yes, cash good and so on, whatever. But cash is also going to get devalued. So you need to move away from it. I get the concept, cash is king. Genuinely get it. Cash is king. Fair enough. Because it's untraceable. However, the longer you stay on cash, the worse it's going to get because it's too overvalued. By overvalued, I mean too polluted, too much printed. So we need to move away from it. So there has to be a move away from cash, from fiat. We have to move away from fiat, from cash, which means digital payments is the alternative answer. And it's not going to be stablecoins as the alternative answer for governments. It's going to be CBDCs. That's why 98% of centralized banks around the world are on CBDCs. So that transition away from cash is guaranteed to happen, no matter what happens in this world. It's no matter who's chosen or who's leading, it's guaranteed to happen because that transition needs to happen. Because that market space has been polluted too much, too corrupted, too manipulated, too polluted, too much printed, too many scenarios in that market space. So there needs to be a move away. And that move away is wholesale CBDCs and retail CBDCs. And American banks are involved in wholesale CBDC testings through the Bank of International Settlements. And the Federal Reserve is also involved in wholesale CBDC testings and retail CBDC testings. So that's something that's going to be happening either way. If Trump mentions it or not, it's still happening either way. That transition is going to happen because there's no possibility of staying in cash, especially if the rest of the world is transitioning. And because that market space is too polluted. And the coke that was found in the White House, he's going to release that as well. I wonder who owned that. Yeah, definitely. Well, we know who owned it. Let's go, Miles. Let's go, Parker. How you doing? You called this one, brother. Let's go. Okay. What we're going to talk about next is VC companies. Significant amount of capital to be unlocked for crypto ventures. Bitfinex analysts have came forward and essentially did a report because of Trump's victory. And they said that essentially VC companies are going to be heading towards the crypto space at a rapid pace. Bitfinex analysts anticipate a new wave of hope entering crypto markets following Donald Trump's election as president of the United States. This renewed hope is expected to translate into more capital flowing into Web3 spaces as the industry expects federal agencies to adapt a less hostile stance on cryptocurrencies. The analyst said, "We expect that in the short term, a significant amount of capital will now be unlocked for crypto ventures. In addition, there is likely to be an impact on the approach that has been taken by the SEC, which many believe to have been hostile to the crypto industry. Many believe it was hostile. The SEC stance was 1 billion% hostile towards the crypto space. It wasn't many people believe. Trump's recent shift in the stance on cryptocurrencies, coupled with the 2 years of intense regulatory scrutiny by the US authorities, essentially has attracted backings from high-profile figures in the Web3 and tech industries. While campaigning, he made several promises to crypto voters, including support for Bitcoin miners, the creation of streaming Bitcoin reserves, and a crypto advisory council. Trump has also vowed to fire the Securities and Exchange Commission SEC chairman Gary Gensler. Most of these promises will require congressional support to become a reality on the policy front. Bitfinex's analysts do not anticipate any short-term changes. They said, "We do not expect any actions in the short term, particularly as multiple complex issues need to be resolved, including whether certain crypto assets should be classified as securities or not." As of November 6th, the Associated Press has called 181 seats for the Democrats and 199 for Republicans in the House. With the results of 55 races yet to be announced, although the Republicans have also gained control of the Senate, whichever party controls the House will significantly impact the chamber's legislative agendas for oversight and passing bills. So, VC companies. And they're not the only ones. Bitfinex is not the only ones that are suggesting that VC companies are not going to be heading towards the crypto space. A few companies have came out with the exact same reports that VC companies are heading towards the crypto space, which is reassurance for the crypto space. Venture capitalist money is heading towards the crypto space. That means that crypto companies are going to get investments coming towards them, which is amazing, incredible. It shows interest, is what it does. It shows mega interest towards crypto companies. Startup companies, blockchain startup companies are going to get investments now, much more easier than before. If their idea is useful, then they're going to get much more easier in terms of fundings, raising money, seed money, in other words. So Web3 companies, AI companies, blockchain startup companies, or companies that already exist inside the crypto space, or even blockchains get money from VC companies as well. So that is basically confidence for the market space. VC companies coming towards inside the crypto space at a rapid pace is because due to regulations, a Trump presidency, which makes more institutions join the crypto space as well. I mean, what I'm trying to say in the most simplest way is from every different direction, some sort of money or confidence is going to be heading towards the crypto space. Confidence for institutions means more money inside the crypto space. Confidence for VC companies means more money inside the crypto space. Confidence for banks means more money inside the crypto space. And VC companies are coming at a rapid pace now towards the crypto space. They're the ones that are going to be funding the crypto space. Obviously, so the institutions, so the banks, and so the ETFs, and so is the retail section. But from every angle, we're getting money in now. Now, what we're going to talk about next is Crypto.com. Crypto.com, also another company that decided to reveal their plans straight after Donald Trump's presidency. As I said, there's many companies. The moment it was announced that he's the president, many companies said, this is our plans of what we're going to do now in 2025. Everybody's happy. All the crypto companies can finally do what they wanted to do, which is bring innovation. And Crypto.com is one of those companies that announced their plans, same time as JP Morgan announced their plans, the moment it was announced Trump was the president of the United States. But before we go through that news, let's go to the comment section first. Let's see if any questions. As I said, this is a live show, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Don't be shy, even if you're new inside the crypto space. CBDCs can be for people, but much more likely for the elites. Yes, it's true. And also, tokenizations or CBDCs is a very big thing for the Bank of International Settlements and for a lot of banks around the world. And Switzerland is also very big on tokenizations for CBDCs, wholesale CBDCs. Get the Paolo digital censorship. Get the Paolo digital citizenship, not censorship. Yeah, that's not. I mean, there are other alternative methods as well. But the number one way to skip on crypto tax is to borrow against your crypto assets and use them as collateral. Not financial advice in any sort of way. But if you borrow against, so the most easiest way I could put it is Wall Street, Bitcoin ETFs. Because they will get taxed on their Bitcoin ETF sellings, there's a company in Wall Street that is pretty much the go-to company for everybody on Wall Street that wants to borrow against digital assets. And every company inside of Wall Street that has, or every investor in essentially Wall Street that has invested into Bitcoin ETFs and wanted to skip on taxes, used their Bitcoin ETFs, all their digital assets, and essentially went to this one particular company in Wall Street that lets you borrow against your crypto assets and use it as collateral. When you borrow against your crypto assets and use it as collateral, you don't get taxed because you don't get taxed on debt. So it's the number one way, in a very legal way. It's a loophole, legal way to skip on tax. If you sell your crypto assets, you're getting taxed. You could get citizenships. You get digital citizenships if you want in other countries to skip on some tax scenarios or skip on some other laws and so on. But the easiest way, you could do this in any country. You can live in America, you can live in Canada, the UK, the EU, Australia, Japan, Singapore, live in whatever country you want. Just if you borrow against your crypto assets, use them as collateral, you don't get taxed on debt, which means your crypto won't get taxed. Not financial advice in any sort of a way. It's just something personally that I always think about, let's say. But that's a very legal way that you can do in any country, and you don't need a separate citizenship. Although it is a good idea to have a digital citizenship, is a very good idea, but you don't really need it if you just borrow against it. Yes, you'll be paying some sort of fees when you borrow against your crypto assets, but there's a lot of places that are going to let you do that anyways. I mean, banks are letting you do that. Some corporations are doing that. But if you do decide to borrow against your crypto assets, make sure that the place that you borrow against it from is regulated. So if you want to borrow against your crypto assets from a bank, make sure that bank has the correct licensing to be able to do that. So later on, they don't get fined and so on. Your assets get frozen. If you want to borrow against your crypto assets using a crypto exchange, make sure that crypto exchange has the correct licensings before you go forward with that maneuver. Any firm you try to borrow against your crypto assets with, make sure they have the correct licensings before you go forward with them, because then your assets will get frozen if they get sued essentially by any sort of lawsuits. But yeah, you don't get taxed. If you borrow against your assets, your crypto assets, and you use them as collateral, you don't get taxed because you can't get taxed on debt. And that essentially company in Wall Street has roughly $1 billion in itself of digital assets and ETFs. High-profile investors in Wall Street are using one particular company, which I revealed who the name was a few lives back. I revealed what the name of the company was, and they have about $1 billion in digital assets and ETFs that everybody is borrowing from them. It's pretty much the go-to company in Wall Street, and nobody's paying tax. All the high-profile investors in Wall Street, none of them are paying tax on their ETFs, their Bitcoin ETFs, or their digital assets, because they're using as collateral through that one company and skipping on tax. You don't get taxed on debt. Now, but it's always a good idea if you do want a separate digital citizenship as well. If you want to go that route, there's multiple routes you can go to, and that's one of them. Thank you, CryptoCanic. And regarding, CBDCs are most, they're for peasants, which is us, and they control the money. Senator Elizabeth Warren will lose focus on crypto choke point 2. Yes, she will, because she has no choice. Senator Elizabeth Warren is the only one standing. Genuinely is the only one standing, it just goes back to that old saying. And then there was one, which is Senator Elizabeth Warren, because Gary Gensler sacked after January 20th. The FDIC Banking Committee chair sacked after January 20th. And it was 3 people. 3 people were keeping the crypto space hostage, you could even say. It was the Banking Committee, FDIC chair, Gary Gensler, Senator Elizabeth Warren. These 3 people were keeping the crypto space hostage. The Banking Committee chair, the chairman Banking Committee, was the one telling banks inside the United States they're not allowed to approach crypto companies. They're not allowed to work with crypto companies. If they want to hold crypto assets, they essentially have to hold them as liabilities on their banking sheets. Gary Gensler was the one that essentially was suing crypto companies. 100 lawsuits Gary Gensler started. Elizabeth Warren, Senator Elizabeth Warren, was the one spewing lies in front of Congress and saying crypto is only used by criminals and for illicit activities. So Senator Elizabeth Warren was keeping the crypto space hostage by brainwashing people in Congress or on the news, brainwash the retail section, telling everybody crypto is used for illicit activities and, essentially illicit activities and so on. And then you had Gary Gensler keeping the crypto space hostage by suing any crypto company could get their hands on. 100 lawsuits this man brought. And then you had the essentially FDIC chairman who was telling banks they're not allowed to work with crypto companies. He sent 20 letters. This man sent 20 letters to banks inside the United States telling them to stay away from crypto companies. And he's going to be sacked. January 20th onwards, he's going to be sacked. Gary Gensler is going to be sacked. They're both getting fired. And there's only Elizabeth Warren left. And it doesn't really matter if she's left, because she's got no one now. And it just, as I said, it goes back to that old saying. And then there was one. Golden Dragon, good to see you. How you doing? Hi, Miles and family. How you been? Can we keep custody seed phrases when we borrow against our bag? Yes, because it's your bag. Yes. But here's the thing, you have to keep your assets with them. So when you borrow against your crypto assets, here's the simple thing. If I want to borrow against my crypto assets, I don't hold my crypto assets in my ledger and borrow against them. What I would have to do, for example, if I want to borrow against my crypto assets with JP Morgan, example, with JP Morgan, I would have to leave my assets with JP Morgan. And then JP Morgan will give me the loan, essentially, on top of my assets. And they keep my assets as collateral. I don't keep my assets on a ledger and then tell JP Morgan, essentially, I have my assets on a ledger. Hey, it's on here. Don't worry about it. I keep the seed for it. No, that's not how it works. How it works is you transfer your assets to, this is why I said, make sure if you want to borrow against your crypto assets, make sure that if you want to borrow from a bank or a institution or a crypto company, if you want to borrow against your crypto assets, make sure they have the correct licensings. So later on, you don't fall into any sort of scenarios where your assets get frozen because the place you borrowed from doesn't have the correct licensings. So if I borrow from HSBC Bank, I know they have the licensings to borrow against crypto assets. HSBC in Hong Kong definitely has the licensings, and HSBC in Dubai definitely has licensings as well. The UK still doesn't have policies for HSBC on that matter. But if I want to borrow against my crypto assets, let's say I use Hong Kong HSBC, I know they have the licenses, the proper licensings, and I would have to keep my crypto assets with HSBC Bank. They keep my assets. And it's a contract, so it's not like they can run away with my crypto. I keep my assets with them, and then I borrow against it. And whenever I pay back the money I borrowed against it, then they'll release my assets. But there are ways around it as well. So let's just say I borrow against my assets, and my assets price value is sitting here. Let's say if I borrowed $100,000, for example, let's just say I handed HSBC Bank XRP or Solana or any cryptocurrency. It was a $100,000 valuation, and I borrowed against it. Now, my assets went up in value. On the market space, let's just presume the crypto asset that I borrowed against went up in value. So now, if I go back to HSBC, they'll give me 150,000. So what I'll do is just go back to HSBC and say, I want to borrow against it again, and I'll pay off the original loan with the new loan. And if it goes up in value again for my assets, I'll pay it off and use the other loan. Repeat and cycle and rinse. Repeat, cycle, rinse. But they keep your assets. This is why I said make sure they have the correct licensings wherever you do borrow from. They keep my assets as a contract. I pay a fee. I use my crypto assets as collateral. I get the money. I don't pay taxes on that matter. So it's a very legal loophole. You don't pay tax on debt, and it's your assets are going to be safe if it's with somebody like HSBC because they have the correct licensings. Yes, the theory is don't trust banks, but they're not going to run away with assets in any sort of way. Not saying you're suggesting that, but they're not going to be running away. But make sure wherever you borrow from, they have licensings to be able to do those kind of maneuvers by borrowing assets. Now, so Warren will lose focus on crypto, choke point to facts. Absolutely. And Glenn, Golden Dragon, good to see you, right, can we keep, that already said that. Yes, yeah, but she's getting looked into. Yes, Elizabeth Warren is definitely going to get probably looked into as well. If JP Morgan isn't working with Ripple, will they compete with Ripple? And if so, is that bad? No. Here's the thing. No, because they're all going to be connecting together. So through the EVM on the XRP ledger, I mean, if we go back to what David Schwartz said a while ago, David Schwartz said that the XRP ledger will become like Google, which is basically everything connects to it. So every chain will be able to connect to it, and XRP Ledger will become the Google of the blockchain space. So no, they won't be competing with it. They'll actually be working alongside it somewhere down the road. Or they could be working alongside it right now. We just don't know. Would it be a perfect night if Warren lost? I agree, 1,000,000%. But now there's only one left, which is Warren. But, she's on her own. She can't do anything. She has no power. Apparently, Trump will be reforming to the SEC. Reforming the SEC, yeah. Is currency taxable? No. Yes, I get the title, cryptocurrencies. Why is cryptocurrencies taxable and why currency isn't taxable? But technically, currency is taxable, to be fairly honest. I mean, the government will tax you on anything. You buy some, You create something, they'll tax it. You build it, they tax it. You eat it, they tax it. Anything you do, they'll tax it. But there are loopholes around it. So, Miles, I presume when my assets are elsewhere in some bank, it must be insured by assets. So no matter how much they have of mine, up to a certain extent, it will be. So even on traditional assets, so fiat currencies, your fiat money in the bank is only protected up to a certain limit. In the UK, your money is protected up to £85,000. So let's just say, any bank in the UK, Lloyds Bank, Barclays Bank, HSBC Bank, if you have, for example, $1 million in the bank, you have $1 million in the bank. If something happens to that bank and your $1 million is gone, the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority in the UK, is only covering you up to £85,000. The rest of your money is gone forever. So even for fiat, essentially, they only cover you up to a very minimal amount. So they won't be able to most likely cover you all the way throughout, but what's the chances of it getting hacked? So far, banks have not been hacked. I mean, major banks haven't been hacked, but banks don't innovate, they adapt. It's facts, they do. They adapt. Perfectly put. Thanks, Miles, for explaining borrowing against your assets. No problem, Gross One, anytime. Thanks. No problem, Crypto Cunning. And Kirilu, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. I don't know what you're typing. I don't want to be rude in any sort of a way, but I can't understand your language. If you can type your question in English, because you typed it in twice. So if you can, type it in English, please. Because I can't read that. I think it's Russian or Ukraine. I'm not sure the language you're typing, but I can't understand. Apologies. So if you can, type it in English. Now, what we're going to talk about next is Crypto.com. Crow explodes by double digits as Crypto.com CEO reveals 2025 roadmap. Crypto.com revealed their roadmap straight after Trump's announcement of presidency. Kronos, the Crow native token of a blockchain developed and run by the cryptocurrency exchange Crypto.com, has recorded double-digit gains following the unveiling of the 2025 roadmap from the leading digital asset trading platform. According to the data from CoinMarketCap, CRO surged 31.9% a few hours after Crypto.com CEO, also Chris, revealed the roadmap, although the coin had fallen essentially slightly down, but it's doing a little bit better now again because of Donald Trump's announcements of, he's the next president of the United States. Crypto.com's roadmap next year shows the exchange is expanding into crypto offerings. So this is what I was talking about just a moment ago regarding borrowing against your crypto assets. It's something that's going to be more common inside the crypto space. For example, Crypto.com's roadmap for 2025 is going to be crypto offerings. It's going to be expanding its crypto offerings to adding stocks. Crypto.com's app is going to be having stocks. It's also going to go into banking and card services. When they go into banking, they mean essentially borrowing against your crypto assets. The platform partnered with the multinational financial services giant Standard Chartered to offer banking and payment solutions for the United States dollar, the euro, and the United Arab dirhams. The retail users inside the United Emirates, the firm intends to expand its services to global users, and this vision could materialize into the coming years. The remaining part of 2024 will see Crypto.com launch a level up, a rewards and benefits programs designed to incentivize users to use their services on its platform. The exchange will also essentially release its web app and a suite of artificial intelligence and development tools for the Kronos blockchain. By the first quarter of 2025, Crypto.com will double down on exchange expansions and fiat on-ramps and off-ramps, a growth and launch rewards programs for BTC users on its platforms. By the year's second quarter, the firm will maximize its crypto rewards programs and enhance institutional custody solutions. In the third and fourth quarters of 2025, Crypto.com will launch a stablecoin, AI-powered trading tools, margin derivatives, and essentially singularity applications and programming interferences. Interestingly, the exchange wants to apply the Kronos Exchange Traded Funds ETF. Crypto.com is going to be offering some sort of ETF service as well. The CEO said the unveiling of Crypto.com's roadmap does not put the exchange at a competitive disadvantage because the incentives for its programs are very strong, and only a handful of rival firms could match that scale. Additionally, the CEO of Crypto.com disclosed that Crypto.com began to build on this roadmap in the summer of 2023, but they kept very silent about it. And the strategy is unique. This strategy could lead to a goal of 250 million users in the bull cycle. Crypto.com is going to be offering in 2025, after Trump's presidency was announced. A lot of firms are announcing some amazing things now because they're not scared anymore by the SEC. Everybody knows Gary Gensler is going to be jobless very soon. So everybody knows that. January 20th onwards, he's jobless. So crypto firms are now moving a bit more loose. They're saying whatever they want. And Crypto.com just announced some major news on its side. They're going to be offering stocks. They're going to be offering banking services. They're going to go into ETF services. They're going to be offering AI services, rewards programs, and they're going to be offering a lot of things, which is absolutely amazing. And the CRO token, the CRO token, is pretty much the backbone of all of this. So if you're someone that's holding CRO token for Crypto.com, Crypto.com is about to become an incredible platform. So it's great for anybody holding CRO. Now, CRO prices are higher than most. Now, BlackRock's Bitcoin ETFs is what we're talking about next. BlackRock's Bitcoin ETFs rockets past $1 billion in 20 minutes. I mean, just to comprehend that is incredible. BlackRock's Bitcoin ETFs rocket past $1 billion in 20 minutes after market opens. This kind of volume you see with major sell-offs, not inflows. That's not what's happening here, and it's the inflows that's happening. Bitcoin's price went on a rocket ride, and the traders got wiped up into what an analyst, Eric. And if you're wondering who Eric is a ETF specialist analyst from Bloomberg. Bloomberg is pretty much gospel for the entire Wall Street. And they just couldn't get enough. Rushing into buy is what Eric said. For those keeping score, Eric has been on all over this. He flagged the ETF's trading volumes early, predicting the kind of numbers that would drop jewels. By October 29th, IBIT had already cranked through $3.3 billion on Bitcoin tradings, and that was just the start. Over the next few days, it pulled in a staggering $1.8 billion in inflows. The vibe, all systems go. Eric said, not saying it's guaranteed, but I'm a fan of patterns, and it fits the pattern. And he's right. Other ETFs are seeing their own essentially surge happening, but none like IBIT. This thing is on a league of its own. While IBIT essentially was racking up volume records, Bitcoin itself was out there breaking price barriers. By Wednesday morning, Bitcoin smashed through $75,000, blowing past its previous all-time highs. And it didn't stop with Bitcoin. Other cryptos were also on fire too. Ether jumped by 8%, Eric said. While Dogecoin, yes, the meme coin, Elon Musk loves, explodes by 18%. It was full on the bull run. So why now? 2 words. Donald Trump, Eric said. His quick win at the presidential election lit up markets like a Christmas tree. Investors see his big win as a big green light for cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. Trump, who was once a loud and proud crypto skeptic, has now pulled a 180. He's gone full pro-crypto, promising to turn America into a crypto capital of the planet, Eric said. And you think this is just empty talk? Check out what he's done already. As I said, Trump is pretty much the only politician on this planet that says something and does it. His campaign accepts crypto donations, and he even dropped essentially by a Bitcoin conference in July to rally the faithful. His pitch, America needs a strict reserve of Bitcoin, and he's already ready to make it happen. Crypto stocks, along with the ride, Coinbase, one of the biggest crypto exchanges, saw its stock prices leap 17%. Robinhood, the trading platform that's now essentially knee deep in crypto, went up 12%. American Strategies surged by 10%. Now, market talks is now less than if Bitcoin will hit $100,000 and more when Ross, the investor director at AG Bill, essentially said that we're on the route to $100,000 is what we're heading towards right now. He's already promised to fire Gary Gensler, so he's out of the picture. And in other words, they're ready to make some noise on Capitol Hill. It's still chimed back in saying Trump's approach will be probably a light touch on regulations, which is what the crypto space needs, because we've had a very heavy touch on crypto regulations coming in from the SEC, Gary Gensler. Crypto fans want legitimacy, but they don't want regulations so heavy they stop opportunities and innovations. Basically, they want to keep doing their thing just with a little more polish to make it look legit. Meanwhile, the past 24 hours have been a bloodbath for shorters, short sellers in the market. Nearly 125,000 traders got torched, losing a collective $557.42 million. $557 million was wiped out on the crypto exchange market space because people were putting shorts. Those are the people that were non-believers on Donald Trump. Binance recorded the single best liquidation. One unlucky trader on Binance. I mean, you got to be the most unluckiest person on the entire planet. One person on Binance got liquidated $75 million. One person on Binance got liquidated $75 million because he put a short on Bitcoin. When markets go nuts, shorting cryptos feels like skydiving without a parachute. It's the best way to put it. He was definitely skydiving without a parachute. US stocks saw global markets essentially stumble as Trump returns. As Trump is clenched to the election, US listed funds tied to global stocks took a hit. Why investors are worried about the Trumps might win throw a wrench into the international equities. ETFs tracking big names like South Korea's, Mexico, Hong Kong, Japan, Taiwan, and Chile, all siding during Wednesday's trading. And despite essentially the fact that major US indexes hit record highs, what's essentially behind this dip? Trump loves of tariffs is making everyone maybe nervous, but they shouldn't be. He's floated a 20% tariff on all imports and a whopping 60% tariff on goods from China. Yes, 60% isn't exactly popular with the votes. NBC News polling showed that plenty of resistance, but it didn't seem to hurt him at the polls. For now, through the global trades are on edge and doing incredibly well for themselves. The chief investment officer at BMO Wealth Management said, while the investing landscape remains favorable in the US, international markets are very exposed to tariff policies. That uncertainty could limit their near-term upside in global stocks. The anxiety is real. While US markets surged, Dow Jones headed for its best day in nearly 2 years. The story was different across the Atlantic. The European markets stumbled with the iShares core essentially sliding around 2.5%. Asian markets had a mixed day. Japan's Nikkei 225 bucked the trend, but the US listed iShares was essentially fell for Chinese market space, fell to over 2%. But there was one international standout, Argentina. The global XMSCI Argentina ETF climbed more than 2%, hitting a new record high of 52 weeks of highness. Argentina's stock market is revealing its own wave of change after liberation. Javier pretty much fixed that country. Argentina is pretty much fixed because of Javier, who some call the Trump of South America, was elected president. Looks like Argentina is taking notes from Trump's playbook, which is the best note you can possibly take. If any leader, genuinely, if any leader around the world, prime minister or president around the world, wants to become the best prime minister or wants to become the best president of their country, just follow Trump's footsteps. It's very simple. Genuinely. If you want to become the best president or the best prime minister of your country, follow Trump's footsteps because your footsteps are not working so far. Adam, the chief technical, essentially, strategist at LPL Financials, broke down the dollar's rally. It's a reaction to raising inflation expectations after Trump's win. But there's a twist. A stronger dollar tends to hammer international stocks, especially in emerging markets, which have lagged behind their US counterparts for years. The iShares MSCI Emerging Markets ETF slid more than 1% as a Trump victory solidified itself. For emerging markets, a strong dollar is a friend. In economies, adding pressure on growth, making it more expensive for them to import goods or services, debts on the side of US dollar. Not the best news for markets that are already feeling the strains. With Trump back, analysts are expecting the dollar to keep rising in value, which it will. The dollar will be very strengthened because of Trump, which could spell even tougher times for international markets moving forward. What basically is some countries will have to end up paying their share, which they should do. Honestly, Macron, for example, Macron, Prime Minister of France, he is slightly worried because Macron has to start paying up. Well, here's the thing. For 4 years, every politician, genuinely, for 4 years, every politician, every prime minister, every president around the world was basically stealing money from the retail section. For 4 years, they were stealing money from the retail section. They were abusing the retail section. And now it's time to pay up. All the politicians that were abusing the retail section by taking their tax-paying hard-earned money away from them and using it on useless things that will never help their economy, by using it funding random wars or funding it for their own pockets. Now Trump wants everybody to pay their share. Good. So while some leaders around the world might be a bit, oh, we're not sure if we want a Trump, if we like Trump's ideas, nobody cares about your opinions. Because for 4 years, those presidents and prime ministers around the world were just abusing the retail section, taxing them into the ground, and taking their money from them. And what did they do with them? Did they fix the roads? No. Did they build more properties? No. Did they help the inflation? No. Did they help the people at all? No. So pay up. Genuinely, all those politicians, pay up. Now, South Korea is what we're going to talk about next. South Korea has done something quite revolutionary. You could say, even. So we can be self-insured. Do you think on our own cryptocurrencies through CoinMove? Yes, you can. Good night, Miles and my friends in the CMF. Troy, see you tomorrow, but at the same time as usual. What we're going to talk about next is South Korea. But yes, you can do that through CoinMove as well. CoinMove is going to have the capabilities of borrowing and lending, so you can do that through CoinMove as well if you want. If you trust me more. South Korea's Virtual Assets Committee considers real name bank accounts for corporate, essentially, crypto transactions. South Korea wants the institutional service, essentially, to be more involved inside the crypto space. And they made this announcement straight after Trump's presidency announcement. Again, announced Trump, president of the United States. Next morning, a lot of things have been happening for governments, for institutions, for banks. A lot of announcements have been happening, all positive. And South Korea wants the corporate section to be more involved with the crypto section. So South Korea's newly formed Virtual Asset Committee held its first meeting today, straight after the Trump announcement, marking an important step in developing policies for the country's growing digital asset sector. According to UNOP, the committees disclosed that the potential for real bank name accounts for corporations involved in cryptocurrency transactions, aiming to establish a clearer financial guidelines as the crypto markets matures. The Financial Services Commission, and this is what's happening in South Korea, could also be something that's going to probably be implemented around the world. So essentially what South Korea is doing is making some kind of crypto institutional accounts. It's something that's most likely going to implement it other parts around the world as well. So the Financial Services Commission, South Korea's primary financial regulator, is expected to assess the feasibility of this measure and announce further steps in December after consulting with relative government agencies. The committee also examined the risk associated with corporate participants in the crypto market space, including the potential of money laundering and the impact of traditional finance. Real name bank accounts, a move towards a regulatory clarity for corporate crypto. The proposal for real name bank accounts aims to create a transparent and regulatory environment for corporate cryptos transactions. Essentially, currently, individuals must use real bank accounts for crypto trading in South Korea, ensuring traceability and regulatory compliance. Extending this requirement to corporate accounts would essentially represent a significant development in the country's approach to digital assets and signal a commitment to transparency and security in the crypto-related financial activities. Enhanced transparency is what they're essentially talking about. Real name accounts for corporate entities would allow regulators to track crypto transactions more effectively, reducing the risk of illicit activities. compliance with AML laws by linking corporate accounts to be able to identify them in terms of entities. The government could better enforce AML regulations, ensuring that companies adhere to legal standards. AML means anti-money laundering. Boosting corporate confidence. A structured, regulated approach may encourage more corporations to engage in crypto transactions, knowing that clearer policies and protections are in place, which is facts. This is what essentially the more regulations we get, the more banks and institutions get involved all around the world. And again, this was announced. Not only was it announced straight after Trump's presidency, the next morning, straight after Trump's presidency, South Korea comes out with this news. And not only was it essentially with this news, the first meeting they had ever about this was essentially straight after Trump's presidency, with regulations, policies for institutions. Let's get the institutions involved in crypto. Trump hasn't even taken his seat yet, January 20th. And already countries are becoming pro-crypto. And already they're coming out with essentially regulations and policies to get the institutions involved. Remember what I said at the beginning of the live? One company like MicroStrategy can make a few companies follow their footsteps. Imagine an entire country becomes like MicroStrategy. Everybody will follow them. And that country is the United States. And this man hasn't taken his seat yet. Trump hasn't taken his seat yet. And already South Korea is like, well, we're going to bring out those regulations for institutions. Let's get the institutions involved. The implementation of real name accounts for corporations could pave the way for broader adoption of digital assets in South Korea's corporate sector, providing a foundation for sustainable and compliant growth in the crypto industries. I mean, incredible news, honestly. And the role of the Financial Services Commission, developing compliance guidelines, essentially establishing guidelines for corporations on how to comply with real bank account names requirements in crypto transactions. Engaging with financial institutions, the FSC in South Korea may work closely with banks to implement the necessary infrastructure and compliance mechanisms, allowing for efficient integration of corporate real name bank accounts. Ongoing risk assessments, regular reviews of risk factors associated with corporate crypto transactions could help regulators adapt policies as the market evolves. By establishing a well-regulated framework, the FSC aims to create an environment where corporations can safely participate in crypto markets without jeopardizing financial stability or regulatory integrity. So, which means no more gray areas in South Korea. They're bringing the regulations because of Trump in South Korea. In South Korea moves forward, essentially, if South Korea moves forward with the real name bank accounts for corporate transactions, it could set a precedent for other countries to essentially start exploring crypto regulations for institutions. Key implementations for South Korea's crypto and corporate sectors include increased corporate participation. With a regulatory framework in place, more corporations may be encouraged to enter the crypto space, potentially driving growth and innovation in the industry. Enhanced trust in crypto markets. By enforcing transparency, real name accounts could improve investor confidence and attract both domestic and international participants to South Korea's crypto market. Potential for policy exports. South Korea's approach to corporate crypto regulations could serve as a model for other countries, particularly in regions where crypto regulations is still trying to evolve. As South Korea's crypto landscape matures, policies that balance corporates' interest with financial securities could position the country as a leading hub for regulatory, essentially crypto finance. And South Korea's essentially virtual asset committee is taking steps towards a clearer policy for corporate engagements in crypto with real name bank accounts for corporate transactions under discussion. This move, led by the FSC, aims to enhance transparency, align with anti-money laundering standards, and manage the risk associated with crypto participants in digital assets. By prioritizing responsible regulations, South Korea is paving the way for a secure, sustainable future in corporate crypto finance, ensuring that the company's potentials while upholding financial stability and consumer protection. The FSC's decision in December will be critical in shaping South Korea's corporate crypto policies and landscape, potentially influencing regulatory approaches worldwide. What South Korea is announcing, what South Korea is going to be doing, is 100% going to be implemented around the world. which is basically crypto regulations for institutions and crypto bank accounts for essentially institutions. And this announcement, again, Trump chosen as the next president of the United States. The next morning, South Korea comes out, does a meeting for the first time ever about this topic and goes, we're doing this now. Institutions in South Korea are going to get involved in the crypto space. We'll bring in the regulations, no more uncertainty. We're going to bring bank accounts for institutions in crypto. Let's move forward. And again, it just goes back to what I said right at the beginning of the live, which was at the beginning of the live, in a very simple way, I said, MicroStrategy, MSTR, one company, the original Bitcoin ETF, you could say, did something which was not seen by any other corporation around the world. Buying Bitcoin, no matter what the price was, back into their portfolio. And then 2 Canadian companies, a few other companies are in Asian market space, and one Japanese company, MetaPlanet, decided to follow their footsteps. This is what happens inside the corporate sector. When one company does something innovative, when they enter a new market sector, they do well for themselves, other corporations tend to follow their footsteps because that corporate company is doing well for itself, so we'll follow their footsteps. In fact, MetaPlanet yesterday was announced they just ranked alongside MicroStrategy. MetaPlanet was a company in Japan that wasn't doing too well, and now they're ranking alongside MicroStrategy. Was announced yesterday, which is amazing news for MetaPlanet. And that's just one company doing this, and corporate companies follow them. Imagine an entire country going pro-crypto. And it's the United States going pro-crypto with regulations, with policies, banks coming in, institutions coming in, ETFs coming in. And as I said, Trump hasn't even taken a seat yet. Already South Korea announced, we're getting the institutions involved. In South Korea, we're bringing out regulations, we're bringing out policies, we're going to get the institutions involved in the crypto space. We're going to bring bank accounts for institutions for the crypto space. Let's go forward. And this was announced for the first time ever, straight after presidency of Trump was announced. And this was the first committee they ever had. Let's go inside the comment section. Let's go inside the comment section. Let's see what's going on there. By the way, as I said, this is a live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Putin didn't congratulate Trump, and he said he's not happy. Thanks, Miles, from 8 time for the answer. Trouble is the politicians don't pay for it, always ends up us paying for it, no one else. Can you imagine what crypto markets will look like in the next elections? Yeah, much more higher as well. Genuinely, because after Trump, JD Vance is the next best choice. Do you think they'll ever release Do Kwon from prison? Do Kwon is released from prison. Do Kwon's released from prison. He's tweeting about it as well. Vorg, Do Kwon is released from prison. Now, he's released a long time ago. BNB, he did a Dubai conference. BNB chain reveals. So BNB essentially did, in their words, something revolutionary for the tokenization space. The BNB chain reveals no code for real-world asset tokenization services. BNB chain has unveiled a real-world asset tokenization service that provides individuals and businesses with no-code solution to tokenize real-world assets in minutes. According to the announcement, the new service streamlines the process of asset tokenizations through inbuilt compliance tools and clear guidance through each step of tokenization essentially process, including asset securitizations and on-chain mintings of tokens. Outsourcing the tokenization process to BNB's chain tokenization solution significantly reduces the cost, time, and labor required to tokenize assets, lowering the barrier to entry for small businesses seeking to leverage real-world asset tokenizations. So BNB is essentially introducing this new service where if you want to tokenize any asset possible, you can do it within minutes through BNB services, which makes life easier for institutions or retail section that want to tokenize any items. Tokenizing physical assets provides several benefits to businesses, including fractional ownership of assets like art, securities, collectibles, and carbon credits. Tokenizations can also create cost efficiencies and customer loyalty and reward programs to encourage consumer engagements. BNB Chain's new tokenization solution is one of the many incentives focused on bringing real-world assets on-chain, a market sector that could grow to encompass $600 billion in assets under management by 2030. Nowhere else is the growing trend in real-world assets in terms of tokenizations more apparent than the stablecoin market space as well. The United Treasury's Department highlighted that stablecoins issuers are boosting demand for US debts. More specifically, stablecoin firms are also purchasing USD Treasury bills and other short-term cash equivalents as well to back their essentially digital fiat tokens with, soaring up demand for US dollar in the face of de-dollarizations and efforts by sovereign holders of US debt. And essentially in early November 2024, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, the SWIFT interbank messaging system, or Coral's network, Chainlink, and the Bank and Jazz USB also announced those same scenarios of tokenizations within a scenario of minutes as well. But they just announced it. BNB is about to be launching that service where you can pretty much tokenize any asset within minutes. Sorry about that. It's running out of charge. There you go. There you go. So BNB minutes tokenization is what they're offering. If you are somebody that's holding BNB, that's very good for you. Honestly, to be fairly honest, if you're holding BNB right now, that's a great service thing to be offering right now. Oh wow, I missed that. No problem, Borg. Now you know. Bernstein analysts foresee a crypto-friendly SEC and Senate banking committee to speed up regulatory clarity. So Bernstein's analysts have came out and said essentially that they presume now that we're going to be moving forward, everything's going to be going very smoothly because of essentially a Trump presidency. Absolutely amazing. Once again, in their research report. So Bernstein did a research report that came out straight after essentially Trump's announcements. Bernstein analyst foresees a crypto-friendly SEC and Senate Bank Committee to speed up regulatory clarity, and in their research report that came out today, Bernstein's analyst expects a new crypto-friendly SEC chair and a Senate Banking Committee to accelerate regulatory clarity for the industry after Donald Trump's win in the US presidential elections. The US elections results should improve regulatory clarity for digital assets, with the SEC and the Senate Banking Committee becoming more crypto-friendly following Donald Trump's victory in the presidential race and Republican parties securing control of the Senate. Under Gary Gensler, Bernstein noted that the SEC was in legal battles with key crypto industry participants, including Coinbase, Robinhood, Binance, Ripple, and the list goes on. The analyst expects faster progress on stablecoins and market structures bills positively impacting stablecoin issuers also such as Circle and Paxos inside the US space. It expects a broad range of crypto assets which have suffered from a lack of clarity as to their security status. It also expects asset managers to introduce more ETFs based essentially cryptocurrency tokens. Trump's renowned stance on cryptocurrencies had many promises during their campaigns, like firing Gary Gensler on day one, turning the US into a Bitcoin mining powerhouse, and creating a national street Bitcoin reserve. The analyst also expects a new administration to take positive steps. We expect a new regime of crypto rulemaking, the broker said, adding that this transformational shift is not priced in. The report also added that positive action is expected towards setting up a national Bitcoin reserve in accordance with Trump's promise and more focus on Bitcoin mining in the growth of the United States. So, Bernstein's analysts have essentially said that basically Trump fired, regulations on the way, policies on the way, much more smooth sailing in terms of cryptocurrencies. Positive, everything positive. And they're not the only ones. Bernstein is not the only one that released a report today and said positive things moving forward for regulations, policies, a new chairman of the SEC and a new chairman of the banking committee, because that I was about to swear, but that person needs to go away as well, because that person is also part of Operation Chokehold. Now, BNB going up. Pretty much, because BNB is about to be offering a new service. So once that service opens their doors, they should do well for themselves in tokenization space. I can use that for CEX properties. You can use that for CEX properties, Carol. Definitely, it's a good idea, actually. Now, a recession is almost guaranteed, is what's been suggested for Europe. They're suggesting a recession is headed for Europe because of Trump's presidency. It's because they're suggesting that tariffs is going to be causing this scenario. So, and to be fairly honest, before the tariffs scenario, Europe wasn't doing too well for itself. France's economy is doing horrendous. Whereas 1,600 real estate agents have closed down. The real estate market space in France is doing incredibly bad right now. And Germany's automotive space is also doing incredibly bad because nobody's buying their electric cars. Trump's back in the White House, and European leaders are essentially anything but thrilled. He beat Kamala Harris, leaving EU officials with a lingering sense of dread. You know why? Because the EU politicians, the EU prime ministers, were milking the US. Genuinely, the EU politicians, the EU prime ministers were milking the US. They were milking the US. They were milking their own people, the retail section of their own country. They were milking everyone. And because Trump won, the milking has stopped. After watching him disrupt international relations with a slap on tariffs on European goods in his first term, they knew what to expect: more economic warfare. They've been planning for this over a year, but now it's real, and they're scrambling. The EU politicians don't know what to do. EU leaders, the day after election results, European diplomats and leaders woke up with a shared anxiety. They said, "I'm seeing it, not wanting to believe it." One anonymous EU official said. Another diplomat added, "It is not great again." Here's the thing. With Trump, it's in his words, America first, which as it should be. Every country's prime minister or president should put their own country first. The biggest issue with UK or essentially the EU or any other country around the world, they don't put their own country first. They put everybody else's country first. They borrow money to everybody. And when it comes to their own people, they have no money left. But that's why Trump is good, because he puts his own people first. He puts America first. Something that, again, as I said, more presidents and prime ministers, look, if presidents and prime ministers around the world want to become, essentially a great prime minister or a great president for their country, follow Trump's footsteps. Stop putting other countries first, because you are not the leader of that country. You are leader of your own country. So how about you stop feeding money into other countries? Because they're feeding so much money into other countries where they'll have nothing left for their own people. I've seen Trump's playbook before, and they knew it wouldn't be kind to Europe. The United States and the EU share the world's largest trade relationship. In 2021, their trade and investments exchange topped 1.2 trillion euros. A very important, essentially, economic connection for Europe. But Trump's America First stance has always pushed for more American goods in European markets, and is ready to make the EU pay a big price for not stepping up. He's proposed a fresh 10% tariff on European imports, which would hammer industries across the continent. For Germany, this is a serious threat. Germany's automakers rely heavily on exports to the US, and Trump's tariffs could devastate an already fragile industry. In a recent report, ING analysts called Trump's win Europe's worst economic nightmare. A looming new trade war could push the Eurozone economy from sluggish growth into a full-blown recession, they said. Economic growth across the EU is already slow, and adding new barriers would be catastrophic. European leaders aren't waiting for things to unravel. Their meeting, essentially, that happened today and it's going to be happening tomorrow, is to hash out their response. In Budapest, essentially hash out their responses in Budapest, President of the European Commission, the French President Emmanuel Macron is a weasel. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro and Italian Prime Minister Giorgia are all expected to attend this meeting. For most, this isn't a celebration, but an urgent planning session. Yeah, because when Sleepy Joe and Kamala Harris are in charge, the EU is milking America. And the thing is, they're not even milking America for their own people's benefit. The politicians, the EU politicians, are milking America for their own benefits. So you could say, oh, maybe, they were making a quick buck alongside the US when Sleepy Joe was in power to help their own people in the EU. No, they were making a quick buck for themselves. So this is why it's not a celebration for these politicians right now, the EU politicians that were milking the US. But an urgent planning session. The mood in Brussels is tense as leaders focus on keeping the EU economy stable. Hungary's prime minister is the outliner, though. A long-term Trump fan, Orban hinted he will be popping open champagne bottles to celebrate. But for the rest of Europe, it's damage control. Yeah, because the politicians that are corrupt right now, and it's not just corrupt politicians that are inside the US that are shaking right now. No, there's corrupt politicians in the EU and every other country right now that's shaking. All the corrupt and manipulative politicians, they're shaking right now. Because they've ate so much, they need to, There are a lot of also EU prime ministers that are very happy about this, about Trump victory. Like, for example, Poland is, popping champagne bottles. I mean, there's so many prime ministers that are happy because they're not corrupt. The corrupt politicians right now are angry because Trump is president, because the payments are going to stop. The under-the-table trades are going to stop. And ironically, just to put it that way, ironically, on the news, they will tell you Trump is the manipulative, corrupt billionaire, is what they'll tell you on the news. In reality, he's the one that stops the corruption. And the politicians that don't like him are the corrupt ones. Because he's the man not only to stop corruption inside the United States or politics, but the entire world. And the EU politicians, the ones that are corrupt, right now they're shaking because their payments are going to stop. And again, they weren't spending those payments on the people of their countries. They were spending it for themselves. There will be a first discussion. So there are actually EU politicians right now that are popping champagne bottles. They love the idea of a Trump presidency because the corruption can stop. There will be a first discussion, and as I said, ironically, they're called Trump corrupt. He's the one that stops the corruption, not creates it. There will be a first discussion on the outcomes of the US elections in Budapest, a third EU source confirmed. They'll talk trade, but Trump's comeback essentially raises another big issue for EU scarcity and security. Ukraine in limbo. Good. Ukraine in limbo. NATO's future in question. NATO's future is in question because the rest of the countries didn't pay up. And Ukraine is in limbo because good. Makes no sense to send billions of dollars to Ukraine when your own people are getting $750. You're the leader of your country, not theirs. So good that Ukraine is going to get nothing in return. One of Trump's biggest promises during the election was to cut US military aid to Ukraine. Good. And this essentially has European capitals on edge. Without American support, Ukraine's position against Russia aggression would weaken significantly. But here's the thing, the part that the news isn't telling you. Trump isn't just going to hand off Ukraine to Russia. No. But that's what the news is saying. Trump's just going to stop helping Ukraine and Russia will take Ukraine. Incorrect. What Trump is actually doing is trying, because here's the thing, Putin will actually stop this war. Putin has said many times he will stop this war. But do you know who wanted to continue this war? Biden administration. The Biden administration wanted to continue the Russian war with Ukraine because they're probably skimming off the top of those billions of dollars. And Putin wanted to stop this war. And Putin still wants to stop this war. But the news will still tell you Putin doesn't want to stop this war, Putin's this, Putin's that. But if you ask Putin himself, very different answer. And how we know this? Chris Tucker. Tucker Carlson. How do we know this? Tucker Carlson. But here's the thing. Putin wants to stop this war. Ukraine is the one that doesn't want to stop this war. So what do? You tell Ukraine, look, Putin wants to stop. You don't want to stop. So here's a simple solution. We're going to stop helping you. So either you stop this war as well, just like Putin is, or we won't help you. So that's the part the news leaves behind. Because the news will just say, oh, Trump's just not going to, help Ukraine and Putin will take Ukraine. That's complete BS. Putin wants to stop this war. Ukraine doesn't. So Trump says, we're not going to help Ukraine. And if we stop helping them, they have no choice but to also stop. That's what's going on. European officials know that they don't have the resources to replace the billions in military aid to Ukraine. Good. Even the EU won't be able to help Ukraine anymore. And currently gets from the US, losing that support could push Ukraine into essentially devastating pace settlements with Russia, a win for Putin and a nightmare for Europe. How's it a nightmare for Europe? How about you stop? Because all of this scenario just bumped up prices. Ukraine and Russia war bumped up the gas prices. Who was affected? Politicians? No. Regular people. French President Emmanuel Macron, who's an absolute weasel. The French President Emmanuel Macron, you thought Gary Gensler was a weasel. That man is more of a weasel than Gary Gensler, the Macron. And German Chancellor are preparing to make a stand, calling for a more united, stronger, more sovereign Europe. They're doubling down on a shared defense strategy and pushing NATO to reinforce European security. Nobody's attacking you. Not a single country is attacking Europe. Sure, you have invasions coming in for illegal migrants, but you're just leaving the doors open. If you leave the door open, someone walks in, that's up to you. But nobody's attacking Europe. Putin's not attacking Europe. He's never insisted on attacking Europe. He did an interview where he actually said, am I stupid to attack Europe? But, Europe will still sell the idea that we need to raise some tax money just in case we get attacked. From who? Nobody knows. NATO security, Mark Rutte, who previously essentially served as a Dutch prime minister, said he was ready to work with Trump, but he didn't hide the alliance concerns. NATO helps advance U.S. interests, multiplies American power, and keeps Americans safe. He reminded Trump, signaling that NATO isn't just a European security blanket. Germany's essentially coordinator, Michael Link, shares his concerns, warning that Europe can't sit back and wait for Trump's next move. We have to make it clear what we expect of the US, and that must fulfill its NATO obligations. I'm sorry, what? Germany's coordinator, not even prime minister or any sort of high profile governors, Germany's coordinator, Michael Link, has said basically that he's sending out a warning saying that Europe's not going to be standing back and waiting for Trump's response. We need to we have to make it clear what we expect of the US. We have to make it clear what we expect of the US. No problem. Do you know what Trump's going to say to him? We're going to make it very clear that we expect this of you. And Trump's going to say, for all these years, you haven't paid your NATO shares. Pay up. Honestly, if you go with a speech like that to Trump as a coordinator of Germany and say, we have to make it clear that we expect the US to fulfill their obligations to NATO, then Trump's honestly going to turn around and say, well, then where's your obligations? All these years, you haven't paid. Pay up. I would do the same. I would genuinely do the same. He said this on a German radio as well. The big fear is that America, with a more aggressive Russia and essentially emboldened China. Russia's not aggressive at all. But if you come on poking the bear, it will get aggressive. Not saying they're going to win, but if you keep on poking a bear. EU faces tough choices. Our big focus is to keep the European unity, said the third diplomat who spoke about the upcoming EU discussions. ING analyst put it bluntly, the combination of tariffs and dwelling US military support for Ukraine is Europe's worst-case scenario. German Finance Minister Christian Lindner spoke out last month saying that if the US goes down this path, Europe would have to consider retaliation. Europe would have to consider retaliation. Trump's proposed blanket tariffs could slam German automakers like Volkswagen and BMW, dealing a huge blow to a sector that's already struggling. Yeah, I can tell you the reason why BMW is struggling. Have you seen the new BMW designs? They're not making any sales. There's a reason. But putting that to one side, Lindner emphasized the need for diplomacy, urging EU leaders to work together to prevent a US-EU trade conflict. It's not in the best interest of the US to have a trade conflict with the European Union, he urged. And then there's the question of tech. Europe has already started passing new regulations targeting American tech giants, which will likely inflame Trump's administration. European leaders know that they need to tread carefully here. Adding fuel to an already intense trade environment could tip the scales towards an outright trade war. Diplomatic balancing act, a tightrope walk. While some leaders like Macron, the weasel, are trying to keep diplomatic fronts, the atmosphere among European officials is grim. Macron has already signaled he's willing to work with Trump, saying ready to work together as we have done for 4 years. But he and schools are also known that the Europe needs to be stronger than ever if they're going to keep up with the US under Trump. The EU is pushing to make their voice heard, but in the end, Europe is heading into a new economic reality, one marked by tensions, instability, and a whole lot of unknowns. The EU's unity, economy, and very sovereign on the line. Trump's back, and this time, Europe is feeling the squeeze harder than ever before. Europe brought this on themselves, to be fairly honest. By feeding other countries. They brought this on themselves. But look, every country, as I said, every country is leading towards some sort of bubble. And mostly it's again to do with the real estate market space. So the Chinese real estate market space is heading towards a massive bubble. The French real estate market space is heading towards a massive bubble. Germany's the automotive industry that's heading towards a massive bubble. And a lot of other countries are heading towards massive bubbles. They're going to burst at any point, essentially. And the reason why we even have these massive bubbles that burst from here and there is because the leaders we elect are morons. Simplest way to put it. The leaders that we elect in our countries are morons. The reasons why we even have bubbles is because of these morons. Because these politicians, instead of using the money that's allocated towards them correctly, they either use it on themselves or use it for their neighboring countries, which never makes sense. If I elect somebody to run the UK, for example, I expect the person that I chose to run the UK, not to run Morocco, for example, because I didn't choose the prime minister or the president of essentially, let's just say Singapore, for example. If I choose the next president or the next prime minister of the UK, if I choose the next prime minister of the UK, I'm choosing the prime minister of the UK. I don't want him, for example, to spend the money of this country in Singapore because I didn't select the prime minister of Singapore. I selected the prime minister of the UK. Not Singapore, UK. So why is the money going to other countries? That's the one reason why we have these bubbles even happening. We also have a massive real estate issue as well. That's another bubble. But it's also because of the morons that we elect to run countries. Genuinely. The only reason we even have bubbles that burst from here and there, time and again, and history will always repeat itself, is because we select morons to run countries. We select them to run our countries, but for some reason, they start running other countries. And you can argue the point, they're doing it because that country has resources, or that country has oil, or that country has gold, or that country has silver, or gas, and so on. I get it up to a certain extent, but there's limits. Don't empty the entire bag in your neighboring countries when your own country is suffering. And what that ends up doing is you printing more money, which leads to a bigger bubble. When that bubble bursts, who feels the pain? The politician living in his £5 million home, or the regular person going to a 9-to-5 job? The 9-to-5 job person feels the pain when that bubble bursts, not the politician living in a £5 million home. But Europe should not be blaming Trump for their own mistakes, is what they're doing. The European politicians that are against Trump right now, they're only against them because Trump is going to stop corruption. He's going to put his own country first, as he should, as any leader should. It's basic common sense. It's like common sense is not used anywhere in this world. You're chosen to run a country which is your own country, not your neighboring country, your own country, which is what Trump is going to do. So the European politicians that are right now, on the edge, they basically did this to themselves. They spent their country's money, borrowing it to random countries that could never afford to pay it back. They printed too much money and put it in their own pockets. What did you expect? What did you thought the end result was going to be? They thought the end result was going to be Kamala Harris as the president of the United States. OF Kamala Harris is going to be president of the United States. And Europe thought we're going to continue milking this country and milking other people's country. And the tables got turned. Trump became president, the milking stopped, and now Europe's angry. Why is Trump elected? Well, why did you spend the money? Why did you waste the money? So for the European politicians to be blaming Trump for their own mistakes, what a hypocrite. They're blaming Trump for their own mistakes, genuinely. Because they didn't spend a single cent, a single penny, a single dollar on their own people or their own country, and they wasted their budgets, and now their budgets are coming towards an end. They're going, oh, well, it's Trump's fault. How? Because he wants to put tariffs? It's his choice. You haven't paid your bills for NATO. So honestly, and to be fair, there are European politicians that are happy. That are happy about Trump. There are European politicians that are happy, and those are the ones that are not corrupt. The only prime ministers in Europe that are not happy about Trump, they're the corrupt ones. They're the ones that have no money left. That they spent all their budgets, all their money's coming to a shortage. The milking has stopped, the corruption is going to stop, and they're shaking right now. But the politicians in Europe that are happy about Trump, they're the ones that are not corrupt. And those are the ones that are not shaking. And they're not blaming Trump for their own stupid mistakes. Now, let's go inside the comment section first. So what's going on there? By the way, this is a live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer the questions you may have. Let's see what's going on inside the comment section. ACH new payment system is already live on OKX exchange. Let's go. Come on, thank you for the update, brother. Reason why France is going down is because Africa closed the door. France is facts. Yep, this is absolute facts. Reason why France is going down is because Africa closed their door. France used to loot Africa countries for years. Now China is in Africa and said to France, no more looting. And that's why France is going down. But here's the thing. China's not in Africa to help Africa. China's looting Africa as well also. So France for the longest time was true. France for the longest time was milking Africa as much as they could. They were milking Africa and their resources. And then China came along and basically kicked out France. And Macron the weasel, could no longer essentially milk Africa. And China came along. But now China's milking Africa. So it's the same scenario. It's just somebody else is now milking it. But at least China builds a few things before they start milking. Macron just milks. He just steals. At least China builds a few roads, builds a few bridges, builds a few properties, and then they start the milking process. But they still milk as well. Stop feeding money to other countries, especially to facts. Good night, Miles, and all CMF. Let's go, JP. See you tomorrow, sometimes usual, brother. We're about to go to Ripple News, which is the endings of Tonight's Live Show as well. So stick around for 2 minutes because the Ripple News is about to go next. So, Ripple News. Ripple's CEO shares his first 100-day checklist for Trump. Brad, CEO of Ripple, has outlined what he believes should be a part of President Donald Trump's first 100-day agenda for crypto. Trump's victory in 2024 US elections has offered not just a pro-crypto president, but also most pro-crypto lawmakers inside the House and Senate. With crypto essentially in celebratory moods as Bitcoin leads price higher, the overall sentiment is that this is the only beginning of the bullish for the industry. However, among the other top priorities for the sector is the push for regulatory clarity. In his regulatory message to Trump, Ripple CEO Brad outlined what he sees as a few of the things that the president can do in his 100 days to get the ball running inside the crypto space. Fire Gary Gensler is what the number one thing, essentially the SEC, is what Brad, the CEO of Ripple, said. So the CEO of Ripple sent out a tweet essentially outlining what he expects Donald Trump to do to help the crypto space in general and for XRP. At the top of his list is fulfilling one of Trump's campaign pledges, firing Securities and Exchange Commission Chairman Gary Gensler on day one. Brad suggests replacing Gary Gensler with a more crypto-friendly candidate, naming Dan essentially Gallagher, the Chief Legal Officer of Robinhood, Christopher, the former head of Commodities Futures and Trading Commission, and Brian Brooks, former acting controller of the currency as well, as potential successors for Chairman Gary Gensler. There'd be massive upgrades in rebuilding the rules and reputation at the SEC, Ripple CEO posted. In his victory speech following Tuesday's election, Trump expressed his commitment to uniting the nation and driving change. On his first 100-day checklist, Brad wishes to see the president getting Republicans and Democrats together to move the digital assets market structure bill and forward in the Senate. Notably, the U.S. House of Representatives passed the bill in May 2024. The final item in Brad's list essentially is to Ripple's legal battles with the SEC starting December 2020 to July 2023, challenge allegations that XRP was a security, ultimately resulting in a court ruling. While the SEC approved spot Ethereum exchange-traded funds in May, Brad couldn't resist and point out the comments aimed at the regulator. And Brad said, and last but not least, can we get clarity similar to XRP and BTC that ETH is not a security, right? So, Brad essentially put out a tweet of what he expects, the CEO of Ripple, what he expects for Donald Trump to do, which is fire Gary Gensler, bring the regulations, bring the policies, and Brad mentioned in his own tweets regarding XRP to give XRP clarity. It's going to happen. SEC Chairman Gary Gensler is definitely getting fired. He gets replaced, regulations, policies, SEC case dismissal pretty much. XRP ETFs, more XRP ETFs. I mean, XRP is just going to be flying. Not overnight, over time. It's going to be flying. So I agree with all the points Brad said. But the good thing is he mentioned it. Is what matters. Because a lot of people inside the crypto space will still tell you that Ripple doesn't care about XRP and so on. Brad doesn't care about XRP. He does. Everybody does. And for the people that are bearish on XRP, I can bet you one thing. You're not going to be bearish for too long because a new chairman of the SEC means regulations and policies, means case dismissals, means XRP clarity, means XRP ETFs, means more XRP ETFs. How can you be bearish then? So if you're bearish on XRP, you might want to start changing your stance. So we've also reached the endings of tonight's live. We've reached the endings of tonight's live. This was the CMF live. If you're watching this for the first time ever, this was the CMF live. It stands for Crypto Mouse Family. And you can tune into this live 11:25 p.m. UK time onwards every single night on YouTube Live, on X Live, depending on where you're watching from this right now. And I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, vital information for you to know about regarding the world completely transforming into a digital space. So if you watch this for the first time ever and you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, follow. If you're not already subscribed to me, subscribe to me on YouTube. If you watch this on X, follow, like, comment. If you watch this for the first time as well ever. And also, we have our Telegram group as well, which anybody's more than welcome to join. It's completely free. And we also have an X communities page as well, which anybody's more than welcome to join. The X communities page is on my X profile. If you watch this on X, go to my X profile. The X community page is there for CMF. Join it. Amazing place to be in. We've come to the endings of tonight's live. Not sure if you see my question, Miles. I sent it twice. It hasn't come up once, to be very honest, Lena. Lena, it's not came up once, your question. Weird. If you want direct message me to me, Lena, I'll take a look. That's weird. It hasn't came up once. I'm not sure Brad is happy Trump is in. Oh, Brad is very happy Trump is in. Night. Good night, Miles and CMF. Thanks for all the info. See you tomorrow. Free forever. See you tomorrow sometimes you as well. Great British news. In other words, Brad is telling them what to do. Good night, Miles and CMF. This was your best live yet. Let's go, Mike. Thanks so much for the kind words, brother. We've reached the endings of tonight's live. Drop a follow, drop a like, drop a comment. If you enjoyed this live, if you watch us on X, drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe if you already haven't. If you watch us on YouTube, subscribe if you already haven't. If you watch us on X, drop a follow, drop a like, drop a retweet. We've reached the endings of tonight's live. Thanks, Miles. Good night, everyone. Thanks, Legend. Shelly, let's go. See you tomorrow sometime as usual, Shelly. Thanks, Miles. Good night, everyone. Ghost Runner, see you tomorrow sometime as usual as well. Great show. Thank you, Miles. Susie, see you tomorrow sometime as usual as well. Good night, Miles, and all the CMF. Thank you so much for all your time last night and all your time tonight and all your time every night. You do a fantastic job. We all appreciate it. Thanks so much, JP, for the kind words, brother. Thanks, Miles, and good night. Lena, let's go. See you tomorrow sometime as usual as well. I'll see everybody tomorrow. Same time as usual. Once again, if you have a like, comment, share, subscribe, follow. If you already haven't, I'll see everybody tomorrow. Same time as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world. See everybody tomorrow. Same time as usual. CMF, see you tomorrow. 100% JP. Miles is the best. Let's go, Ghost Runner. Thank you, Miles. Money, let's go. See you tomorrow, everyone. Same time as usual.